Chapter 2236. When the powerhouses saw Yi Chun leave with his words, their faces contorted. As old powerhouses, it would be too embarrassing if they could not contribute to the fight against the Ninth Origin. Yi Chun was their greatest hope. Normally, they would not be able to tolerate this, but now, they had no choice. Yi Chun returned to his team and nodded slightly when he saw that everyone was fine. This time, he had comprehended the power of the sixth-stage Buddha Pond and obtained the sixth-stage Heavenly Tao Spirit. His understanding of the Heavenly Tao had reached a whole new level. Everyone, do you cultivate according to my instructions? Don't worry, Great Emperor. In a moment of life and death, no one dares to slack off. Patriarch Yu Ming said with a smile. That's good. The Ninth Origin is an extraordinary evil person. He managed to master the fifth stage, Heavenly Tao, in such a short time. We must leave this place. Yi Chen's eyes were solemn. Truth be told, the Ninth Origin's power was beyond his imagination. He did not expect it to be able to master the fifth stage, Heavenly Tao, in such a short time. We'll follow your orders, Great Emperor. Everyone bowed. As long as Yi Chun gave the order, they would face death with equanimity. Each powerhouse firmly believed that Yi Chun was their only hope of survival. This was the will of the people. Yi Chun looked at the sixth-stage technique seal. It was on the verge of collapse, but activating a seventh-stage technique was easier said than done. In fact, Huang Xiaolong had secretly studied the seventh-order Dharma Gate, but he did not manage to see the complete basic rune structure. Instead, what he saw were all kinds of sound fragments, which was very strange. The arrangement of these fragments was even more chaotic, to the point that even with the blessed Buddha's spiritual eye, he could not see them clearly. It seemed that this technique could not be activated by relying on 108 basic seals. This was the main reason why Yi Chun did not care about the powerhouse's insistence. Rumble. The powerful sound of impact came again, causing everyone to fall into a state of panic. Every time the evil energy attacked, it meant that the sixth-stage technique would collapse even faster. What should we do? Hearing such a terrifying sound, everyone panicked again. The old powerhouses could not decide what to do. Yi Chun. Sage Lei Yun roared again and looked at Yi Chun. Too noisy trash. Yi Chun abruptly turned around to look at the Sage Lei Yun. A cold light pierced through the Sage Lei Yun's eyes and entered the depths of his soul. The icy energy caused his entire body to feel as if it had fallen into an icy wind. At that moment, his body could not move at all. This was definitely not an illusion, but a real existence. He immediately realized that Yi Chun was completely different from before. His current strength was unfathomable. Who are you scolding? But as a primordial immortal empire immortal, how could he retreat? He suppressed his fear and countered. All of you are a bunch of trash. You're blabbering on and on again. There's nothing you can do, right? The experts fell silent. That was the truth. They could deal with the evil Uncle Lord and wretch Lord Tianqi, but there was no way they could stand up to the Ninth Origin. Now, all they could do was wait for Yi Chun to open the seventh Dharmic Gate and allow them to enter the seventh-tier Buddhist pond. Not only would they be able to cultivate, but they would also be able to take refuge. However, after Yi Chun's inspection, he could tell that it was impossible for them to activate the level 7 technique with their current strength. Great Emperor Yi, it's not that we have anything against you, but if we don't think of something now, we'll just be sitting ducks, the sage Lung Yu said. Now, no one was in a mood to cultivate the sixth-tier Heavenly Tao. All they wanted was to survive. Yi Chun smirked and looked at the sage Lung Yu and the others. To tell you the truth, we can't open the seventh Dharmic Gate with our strength. Hearing this, everyone's hearts jumped, and they fell into despair. How is that possible? We've spared no effort to help you. And with your extraordinary talent, can't we? The Fire Dragon Immortal said. Now, everyone had to admit that Yi Chun was extraordinarily talented. What's the use of you? With my foundation, I can still try to open it. But now, it's not a matter of foundation. The formation has changed. It's not the Heavenly Tao mark, but the infinite Fragment C. Fragment C? The experts were even more shocked. They could not understand how the infinite fragment sea could forge such a powerful and perfect formation. Great Emperor Yi, in that case, we can only wait here for death. The sage Lung Yu spoke again. This time, her voice was clearly cold. It seemed like if Yi Chun did not give a reasonable answer, things would become more complicated. Yi Chun turned around to look at the sage Lung Yu, endless murderous intent seeping out of his eyes. Clearly, Yi Chun would not give him face. If he wanted to threaten him, he would have to bear the wrath of the Heavenly Emperor. I won't go so far as to wait for death. Yi Chun revealed a strange smile. His eyes were like a ghostly cold gleam coming from the abyss, making one's heart tremble. Everyone fell into it. Many cultivators felt that their bodies did not belong to them anymore. Yi Chun before them was a god. Even the sage Lung Yu felt that this brat before them completely had the right to fight heavenly immortals and true demons like them. Great Emperor Yi, tell us what to do. We'll definitely cooperate. The Qi Yin Demon Master said. It's simple. I want your cultivation base this time. Cultivation base? What do you mean? The experts became cautious. You just need to show me your cultivation base. As for how I use it, that's my problem. The experts were annoyed to see such a willful person, but they dared not disobey. It was a matter of life and death. Rumble. While everyone was thinking, a loud rumble came again. This time, the entire seal had loosened and more cracks appeared. This situation was telling everyone that death was right before their eyes. We agree. The sage Lung Yu and the Qi Yin Demon Master said almost at the same time. Senior brother. The sage Lei Yun still had some objections, but was suppressed by the sage Lung Yu. The other experts stepped out to support Yi Chun. With that, Yi Chun's goal had been achieved. Everyone come with me. All right. The experts followed Yi Chun to a space in the level 6 barrier. They did not know what Yi Chun was going to do. Could this place be the level 7 technique? Of course not. This was only the weakest part of the barrier that Yi Chun had found. Yi Chun said to everyone, although I can't open the level 7 technique, I've found another opportunity to leave this place, which is to open a new spatial passage. This place is the weakest part of the spatial barrier. As long as I have the support of your cultivation base, I'll build it myself. What? You want to create a new space? The sage Huolong was shocked. Creation was the most difficult thing to do. Even heavenly immortals and true demons could do nothing about it. However, Yi Chun, a mere true immortal, wanted to create a spatial passage. Chapter 22:37. The powerhouses were dubious about Yi Chun's shocking words. After all, in their eyes, only a fighter above golden immortal rank could create such a high-level ability. To them, it was a fantasy, let alone a true immortal. However, what right did they have to raise such doubts? They could only believe it. Ha ha ha. Heroes indeed come from the young. Yi Chun, I believe you. Venerable Lung Yu's eyes gleamed coldly as she smiled insincerely. The other venerables got the hint and agreed. The Flame Qi Demon Master also agreed to contribute his demonic energy. This way, Yi Chun had a chance to absorb and refine a vast amount of immortal and demonic energies. Then let's begin. Yi Chun released his psionic power and sent a message to the Unparalleled Sword sect, the Patriarch, and the others. There were some unexpected changes, and they should act at any time. The stakes this time were high. On one hand, they would obtain the power of Venerable Lung Yu and the Flame Qi Demon Master, but at the same time, they would be exposed and fall into danger. They needed the help of the Patriarch and the others. Don't worry, Great Emperor. We'll protect you with our lives. The Patriarch and the others replied secretly. Yi Chun had no worries and walked forward. The 8 Gates divine disc appeared behind him again, waiting for the powerhouses to release their power. Behind Yi Chun, Venerable Lung Yu, Venerable Fiery Dragon, Venerable Lei Yun, and the Flame Qi Demon Master gathered, channeling their divine techniques, ready to contribute their power. In front, Yi Chun channeled the power of the disc. Instantly, the scene of the 8 gates opening appeared in midair. Release your pure energy and enter the 8 gates. I'll use it myself. All right. The 4 powerhouses agreed and released their power. The 8 gates divine disk sensed the surge of energy and spun rapidly. The energy was preliminarily appraised by the 8 gates and transported into Yi Chen's ancient god space. Such a vast torrent of energy of different attributes would cause an ordinary true immortal to suffer from schizophrenia and their meridians to explode. However, Yi Chen had the foundation of demonic energy and immortal energy. Through the ancient god space, he could naturally separate them. In the ancient god space, Yi Chen's primordial spirit separated the ancient god, celestial emperor, and demon martial emperor clones, and began channeling these 2 powers into the designated positions. With the continuous infusion of immortal and demonic energies, the foundation of Yi Chen's immortal demon dual physique was raised. With a cold shout, Yi Chen gathered the energy in the ancient god space and began to condense it into a ball. At the same time, Yi Chen looked ahead. The 2-star ancient god's strongest creation law that he had obtained from the Panga Godhead was continuously injected into his mind. Panga Godhead, creation. He circulated the ancient god's law of creation, encompassing all things and guiding the universe. Instantly, the dual immortal and demonic powers went berserk and merged into Pangu's law of creation. Pangu's shadow appeared behind Yi Chen. Such a shocking phenomenon instantly shocked the 4 experts. They stared blankly at the phenomenon in front of them, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. Before the Panga Godhead, they were nothing more than weeds, as lowly as ants. Ignorant mortals, show me your strength. Pangu's deep and powerful voice instantly shocked the hearts of the 4 powerful warriors, forcing them to release their energy without stopping. As for the other fighters from the demon martial world and the primordial immortal world, they were already kneeling on the ground, worshipping Pangu. They no longer had any will to resist. This was the overwhelming power of the Panga Godhead. Even heavenly immortals and true devils had to bow their heads. Yi Chen's primordial spirit channeled the spirit manipulation scripture, controlling the 2 clones of the ancient god, celestial emperor, and the demon martial emperor. He forcefully pushed the dual immortal and demonic powers into the Panga Godhead. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. In front of Yi Chen, the grand Panga divine seals formed one by one. All he could see was the great Tao of heaven and earth. Supreme of heaven and earth, creation of all things. Using the law of creation, Pangu pushed the divine seals in front of him with both hands, moving them toward the designated space. Rumble. The grand divine seals were unstoppable. They forcefully grew and shattered the void. The void continued to shatter as the divine seals crushed the power of space, distorting countless alternate spaces. A new passage really appeared in front of everyone. This passage continued to complete itself and extended into the distance. Seeing this scene, the 4 experts were stunned. This kid really succeeded. The law of creation. What noble power of law. How could he possibly control it? Who is he? Is he really the reincarnation of Tian Shengli? At this moment, the 4 experts' admiration for Yi Chen was at its highest level. Part of it was because of Yi Chen's shocking talent, but more importantly because of the Panga Godhead. Their psyche had been suppressed, and they had lost their sense of self. Celestial Emperor Yi Chen. All hail the mighty gods. As for the other cultivators, they constantly called out Yi Chen's name and kowtowed to him, providing him with immense fortune. Only the Patriarch, Wu Shuang, and the Netherworld Patriarch were free from Yi Chen's psyche suppression and could still watch. The Patriarch of Hell's face was filled with shock and pride. From the first moment he followed Yi Chen, he knew that Yi Chen would definitely create a great cause that was unparalleled throughout the ages. However, he did not expect that he would still underestimate Yi Chen. Great Emperor Yi is truly an invincible god, the Patriarch said in a trembling voice. At this moment, the grand divine seals continued to batter the void, and the passage gradually took shape. At the same time, the 6th-stage seal, under the continuous attack of the 9th origin, was unable to reform and began to fall apart. Ha ha! The ninth origin's heart-stirring laughter rang out, and all of the cultivators fell into a state of terror. "Continue sending," Yichin ordered. The voice of Pangu intimidated the four experts, who could no longer stop themselves. They were now under the complete control of the Panga godhood and could no longer control themselves. Yichin's endless absorption of the four experts' internal energy had reached the final stage. Ultimate immortal and demonic dual powers. With the foundation of the ultimate immortal and demonic dual powers, Yichin pushed the Panga divine seal forward. The power of creation automatically filled the entire passage, and Yichin no longer needed to circulate it. Rumbling sounds could be heard as space shattered and reformed. All of this was under the control of the Panga divine seal of creation. Yichin returned to his original self, and as he sensed the foundation of the ultimate immortal and demonic dual powers, he smiled. Kacha, kacha, kacha. The sixth-stage seal was completely broken, and the ninth origin led the evil spirit army. Ha ha! Where's Yichin? The first person the ninth origin sought out after breaking through to the sixth stage was the genius Yichin. "I'm here, ninth origin. Would you like to pay your respects?" Yichin called out with a cold smile. "What?" The ninth origin's eyes were bloodshot, and evil energy surged. Next to it, the evil Uncle Lord and the Heaven Chi Lord looked on in shock. They knew that Yichin was arrogant, but never could they have imagined that he would dare to challenge the ninth origin in such a humiliating manner. "Damn it!" The ninth origin roared, causing the entire area to shake violently. Countless rocks and rubble were sent flying in all directions. Chapter 2238. The ninth origin was infuriated by Yichin's mockery. As a source rank expert, no one dared to be arrogant in front of him. "Die!" The ninth origin's eyes glowed with a blood-red light. Suddenly, the ground began to crack, and countless arms spewing evil flames shot toward Yichin. He wanted to kill Yichin. Petty tricks. The ninth origin's powerful attack could kill a peak mystic immortal in a single blow. This was the evil slaughter of wrath. However, Yichin smirked and did not care at all. Behind Yichin, a towering tree appeared. Countless branches extended toward the surrounding land. The cracked ground was filled by these branches. Many of the evil firearms were sealed by the tree before they could even emerge from the ground. Yichin had used the power of the origin of darkness to create this tree. It was the tree of darkness. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Black and gold glaze flowed out of the branches, making them incomparably tough and indestructible. Even the ninth origin was shaken by the power of the sealing mark. Never could he have imagined that the young man in front of him had grown to such a level. How could a mere true immortal of the humankind possibly stand up to an origin-level expert like him? Ha ha! The ninth origin, one of the most powerful evil spirit experts. Is this all you amount to? Yichin stood in front of the tunnel he had created, laughing evilly at the ninth origin. The ninth origin was bursting with excitement. All of its attention was focused on Yichin, so much so that it automatically blocked out the tunnel behind him. The Lord of Tianqi noticed that Yichin was only drawing attention to himself. Everyone from the world of martial magic, the primordial immortal empire, and Yichin's forces had all entered the tunnel. Clearly, they were escaping under Yichin's cover. Lord Ninth Origin. "Get out of my way." The Lord of Tianqi was about to step forward and say something, but was instantly pushed back by the ninth origin's immense pressure. They were not on the same level at all. The Lord of Tianqi didn't dare to say another word. The evil undying Lord was tactful enough not to say anything. After all, their ultimate goal was still Yichin. As long as Yichin was here, anything could be discussed. "Yichin, the source will tear you to pieces and take all of your power. Is that so? Then let me see how laughable your foolish thoughts are." The ninth origin roared in rage, and the wicked flame arm which had been sealed beneath the ground suddenly began to move violently, forcibly breaking Yichin's darkness seal. "Oh!" Yichin merely smiled lightly in the face of such a powerful riot. He did not panic at all. His goal was very clear, and that was to delay the ninth origin's movements and tie it down so that the patriarchs and the others could leave. Therefore, it didn't matter how powerful the ninth origin was. As long as he could delay it, it was enough. Kacha, kacha, kacha. The ground cracked and the seal shattered. Countless evil flaming arms emerged from the ground and stretched toward Yi Chun, trying to kill him. Burning heaven, earth, melting hand. At this moment, Yi Chun waved his arm. Immediately, the might of an ancient god erupted. Mystical fire burned the sky, and lava split the ground. A huge palm print that seemed to cover the sky descended and completely suppressed the evil firearm. Boom! The massive energy struck directly, and the countless evil firearms were unable to resist the massive palm imprint, and they all crumbled. What? The ninth origin was shocked yet again. Yi Chen's foundation was even stronger than a peak mystic immortal's. This was the biggest difference between cultivation base and foundation the ninth origin had ever seen among a human cultivator. Not bad, kid. You got some background. Ha ha ha. Ninth origin, I'll let you have the sixth-stage Buddha pond. Farewell. Yi Chun laughed loudly, his voice shaking heaven and earth for thousands of kilometers. Boundless chaos pierced through the air, slamming into the evil spirit army. Boom, boom, boom. Space exploded, and countless evil spirit warriors were shattered, their meridians redirected, and they died on the spot. As for Yi Chun, he flew toward the tunnel. What? At this point, the ninth origin finally understood Yi Chen's true intentions. It also noticed the powerful spatial energy and was instantly enraged. Don't even think about escaping. The ninth origin unleashed its ultimate evil power, which transformed into a towering demonic pillar that rose up from the ground in an attempt to destroy the spatial passageway. Yi Chen's attention was immediately drawn to the demonic pillar, and he knew that if he allowed it to slam into the spatial passageway, the passageway would collapse. Heavenly Emperor's Sword. Ancient Celestial Emperor. Heavenly Emperor Medallion. Heavenly Sword Destruction. A long howl filled the air as 9 dragons appeared, transforming into a divine dragon, celestial sword. It slashed down, piercing through the 9 layers of heaven and destroying tens of thousands of spells. The massive demonic pillar was sliced in half, sending countless pieces of rubble flying everywhere before crashing to the ground. Ha ha ha! Farewell, ninth origin! Yi Chen laughed disdainfully, then flew toward the spatial tunnel. You! Detestable! The ninth origin was in agony, but so what? After flying into the spatial tunnel, he unleashed a powerful palm strike, which destroyed the entire tunnel. Then, he used spatial energy to catch up to the others. Within the 6th-stage Buddha Pond Dharma realm, the ninth origin tried to force the tunnel open, but failed. How dare you not warn me of the existence of the spatial tunnel? The ninth origin roared, turning to look at the others. We waited. The evil lord of the heavenly malevolence wanted to respond, but didn't say anything in the end. He knew the ninth origin's personality, and knew that doing so would be suicidal. The ninth origin turned to look at the 6th-stage Buddha pond, then smiled coldly. If they're gone, then forget it. Let's enter the 6th-stage Buddha pond. Those who can absorb its energy, hurry. Yes, sir. Having tasted the sweetness of the 5th-stage Buddha pond, the ninth origin was now actively entering the 6th-stage Buddha pond to absorb the heavenly Tao mark. Having escaped with their lives, Yi Chun and the others flew out of the spatial tunnel. The outside world was the border of the last day's desert. It seems the spatial tunnel didn't deviate too much from the last day's desert. Yi Chun said, the experts from the demon martial world and the primordial immortal world reorganized themselves, then looked around. The endless desert was right in front of them, and there seemed to be no way forward. Yi Chun, where do we go now? Adept Thundercloud asked. This is the last day's desert. What's the point of asking me? Let's just split up. Yi Chun replied coldly. Adept Thundercloud was furious and was about to attack when Adept Lung Yu stopped him. Since that's the case, let's split up. Elder Brother Lung Yu, say no more. Yes, sir. The adepts followed Adept Lung Yu's orders, and led the experts from the primordial immortal world away. When they reached the demon martial world, the Qi-Yin demon lord looked at Yi Chun, then left with his army. Huh, a motley crew trying to restrain me? Dream on. Devilish Nanny in the city will continue to be updated. There will be no advertisements on the site, so please bookmark and recommend it. Chapter 2239. Your Majesty, what should we do next? Patriarch Yellow Springs asked. Yi Chun looked around, his Buddha eye glowing brightly. He needed to find a way out, a way he had prepared for everyone else. After all, he still had unfinished business to attend to. Heavenly Spirit Buddhist Lamp. Using the Heavenly Spirit Buddhist Sovereign's exquisite abilities, Yi Chun used his Buddhist energy to summon the Buddhist lamp, which hung high in the air. Then, under the guidance of the Buddhist lamp, everyone saw a hidden path appearing before their eyes. Patriarch Yellow Springs said in amazement, "How miraculous! You can control this Buddhist ability like it's your own arm. Amazing!" Patriarch Wu Shuang followed the Buddhist lamp back to the Yellow Springs, then take my Hell King's medallion and return to the underworld. What about you, Your Majesty? I have important things to do. Don't say anything else. Yes, Your Majesty. Old ancestor Yellow Spring, Wu Shuang, and the others followed the Buddha lamp, starting a new journey in the endless desert. After watching everyone leave, Yi Chun turned around to look at the Buddha glow in the distance. It seems there really is another entrance to the Bodhi-Dharma realm. Smiling, Yi Chun used the Buddhist Supreme's memories to gain enlightenment, and then shot toward the Buddhist light. Back in the Sumeru Buddhist realm, the ninth essence and the others were the only ones who could absorb the power of the Tier 6 Buddhist lakes. Wretched Lord Tian Shi and the Wretched Paragon were the only ones who could absorb the power of the Tier 6 Buddhist lakes. After all, they hadn't gained complete enlightenment of the Tier 5 Buddhist lakes, and therefore, the blessings from the Tier 6 Buddhist lakes were very limited. Ha ha ha! The ninth origin flew out of the Buddhist pond, surrounded by the sixth stage seal. Combined with its own evil power, it was incredibly powerful. Congratulations, exalted source. The army of evil spirits bowed and congratulated the ninth origin. The ninth origin had benefited greatly from absorbing the sixth stage heavenly Tao. It was the most powerful blessing it had ever received. How could it be willing to leave such a precious place? It looked at the barrier up ahead. Where's the seventh technique? A cold smile tugged at the ninth origin's lips as it walked toward the barrier in search of the seventh technique. Among the nine origins, it was one of the more knowledgeable in Buddhist Dharma, which was why it was so serious about absorbing the heavenly Tao seal. Exalted Source, Yi Chun expended a lot of energy to activate the sixth stage Buddhist Dharma. I'm guessing that the seventh stage won't be easy to activate. Do we really need to find it? The evil sovereign said. To the evil supremacy, he still wanted to hunt down Yi Chun, but he had failed his mission. Moreover, with his talent, he could not absorb level 6 heavenly Tao. So how could he absorb level 7 heavenly Tao? Therefore, what he wanted was to prepare for the final arrival of the evil spirits. This was also his ultimate mission. The evil lord of the heavenly centipede also found it extremely difficult to comprehend the heavenly Tao of the sixth order. To him, the seventh order was no better than the evil lord. Hence, both of them wanted to return to the spirit realm and wait for the evil spirits to descend upon them. Trash like you. You can't absorb the sixth step of the heavenly Tao, yet you're thinking of letting the source leave this place? This, the ninth origin's words, caused expressions of terror to appear on the faces of the two powerful evil spirit experts. In their minds, the ninth origin was not a scheming person and had actually seen through their plans with a single glance. Evil Lord Tian Shi, I order you to stay in the spiritual realm in front of you and wait for the other sources of evil spirits to descend. Evil Lord, stay here and cooperate with the source to open the level 7 technique. Yes. When evil Lord Tian Shi heard this, he was secretly delighted. Staying here would only bring him danger. This mission was perfect. After the evil Lord Tian Shi left, the evil lord became the ninth origin's interlocutor. Evil lord, you've been confronting Yichun for a long time. Do you know how to open the technique? This? I don't know. What? The ninth origin's eyes widened, and a cold, murderous aura descended. The evil lord almost collapsed to the ground. This kind of pressure was practically killing him. He endured the pressure and said, "Back then, Yichun relied on the demon martial world Shi, Yin, demon lord, and the primordial immortal world's three perfected masters to open the technique using a special method." After listening to the evil lord's explanation, the ninth origin smiled slightly, as if he had understood something. He walked toward the area where the level 7 technique was located, then activated the level 6 heavenly Tao and began to strengthen his evil eye technique. He wanted to clearly see where the technique was located. By relying on his strong foundation and the level 6 heavenly Tao, he could vaguely see where the level 7 technique was located. Aha, very good. The ninth origin was very happy. It was just as he had expected. By using a method similar to Yichun's, he could completely rely on his superior cultivation base to open a higher technique. Meanwhile, above the last day's desert, Yichun continued to fly and finally saw the land of Buddhist light. Behind a huge sand dune up ahead, there was a water source. This was definitely not a mirage, but a real place. Here, Yichun saw the three venerable ones. Venerable ones, so this is where you are. Yichun stepped forward and nodded to the three. The three venerable ones smiled in satisfaction. The first venerable one said, "Extraordinary indeed. To be able to escape from the hands of the ninth origin. What an extraordinary person." The second and third venerable ones nodded in agreement. "Yichun, the fact that you've come to this place means that your destiny with Buddhism hasn't been severed. You really are the successor of the Buddha Emperor's destiny." Huh. Why don't you get straight to the point, venerable ones? I've returned this time to enter the Bodhi realm's greatest treasure trove. Ha ha ha. The three venerable ones laughed at the same time. Yichun really did get straight to the point. The first venerable one said, "This is the entrance to the Bodhi realm's ninth technique. You've only reached the sixth technique after absorbing the heavenly Tao. You're so greedy. If you want to succeed in one step, what awaits you is a bottomless abyss where your body and soul will be destroyed." In an instant, waves of cold air rushed over, sending chills down one's spine. Yichun looked at the three venerable ones and noticed that their expressions changed at the same time. A powerful pressure came from their bodies, as if this was a test, or perhaps they thought that Yichun was being foolish and arrogant. No matter what, nothing could stop Yichun. He had always been a man who defied the heavens, so why should he worry about being destroyed? All you need to do is guide me. What's the point of saying so much? Yichun's forceful response shocked the three venerable ones. They never thought that a human immortal could be so domineering. He did not give them any face at all. Very good, very good. Just like the Buddha Emperor. Not bad, not bad. He's the one we've been waiting for. In that case, please. The three venerable ones stood up. Suddenly, Buddha's light shone brightly, covering the clear sky. Then, in the blink of an eye, the entire environment changed rapidly. Yichun was already thousands of feet underground. Yichun looked around and realized that the grand Buddha statue before him was extending its flower-pinching finger at him. Chapter 2240. The Buddha statue before us is the entrance to the ninth method. Before that, we have something to say. The three of them stood before Yichun at the same time, as if they had something important to say. Venerable ones, please. Yichun was ready to listen. The three of them nodded slightly. The first venerable signed in. This ninth method is completely different from the previous ones. It's a time reincarnation realm. In the ninth method, you might encounter powerful cultivators from all over the universe. They might come from a realm that you're familiar with, or they might come from a realm that you're not familiar with. Consider the dangers yourself. Ha ha ha. Hearing that, Yichun suddenly laughed out loud as if this was exactly what he wanted. The three venerable ones could not understand why Yichun was so excited. They thought that he was being overly arrogant, but in reality, this was the training ground that Yichun wanted. He needed more memories from both his past and present lives. To unlock these memories, one of the most important things was to start a new journey and unlock more techniques and Dharma realms. This would allow the memory fragments that were wandering in the Tian Yuan space to be more stimulated and return to their original selves. Thank you, Venerable Ones. No matter how dangerous it is, I'll bear it. Is that all right? Of course. The three Venerable Ones did not expect Yi Chun to be so straightforward. It saved them a lot of trouble. Since that was the case, they would activate it. Pay attention. The three Venerable Ones activated the Buddha's light at the same time. 3 beams of light were infused into the Buddha Emperor's flower-pinching finger. Instantly, the white light opened up the world, and the majestic Buddha power gave birth to the universe. A method appeared on the Buddha Emperor's chest. It was the 9th method. Ha ha ha, Yi Chun, there are many difficulties waiting for you. Once you enter them, you'll feel ashamed of your arrogance and regret it. Yi Chun, we've helped you to this point. You're the only one left in the future. The Buddha Emperor's order has been fulfilled. We're free. With that, the 3 Venerable Ones disappeared at the same time. It was obvious that the 3 of them might not be true Buddhas, but people who were restrained by the Buddha Emperor. Now that they had completed the Buddha Emperor's order, they were free. Yi Chun did not care about the 3 Venerable Ones. Instead, he looked at the 9th method in front of him. His own heavenly Tao cultivation had only reached the 6th Dharma gate. Now that he had entered the 9th Dharma gate, it was dangerous in itself. At the same time, he thought about what the 3 Venerables had said. People from all over the universe could enter this Dharma gate. This meant that when the Buddha Emperor designed this Sumeru Buddha realm, he had long wanted to conduct a trial at the extreme ends of the universe. 9 Heavens Buddha Emperor, what kind of gift have you prepared for me? I'm really curious. As he flew into the 9th technique, Yi Chun only felt that his body was as light as a feather, as if he had lost all weight. Following that, endless light assaulted him. He could not open his eyes, and his body dissipated as if he was carrying the light. Yi Chun felt that his body had disappeared. Only his consciousness was still flowing. The surrounding space was limitless, and the surrounding energy masses were constantly drifting about. This kind of feeling was too strange, and he had never experienced it before. As he wandered, all the heavenly Tao imprints he had learned before suddenly appeared in front of Yi Chun. Whether it was the 108 basic imprints or the heavenly Tao imprints from the 1st to the 6th, all of them appeared before his eyes, or rather, in his mind. There must be a deeper meaning behind this appearance. Yi Chun focused his entire body and began to re-examine all the imprints before him. Then, he began to combine and analyze them without limit. He had to understand a higher form of imprint combination and master it. After an unknown period of time, Yi Chun's vision suddenly turned black and he lost consciousness. When he woke up again, he found himself on the bank of a stream. The stream's water splashed against his face, and he woke up. He turned to look at his surroundings. This place was very unfamiliar, and the growth of the plants here was clearly different from the ordinary world. At a glance, Yi Chun saw that the surrounding mountains were more than 10 times taller than ordinary mountains, and the ancient trees around him were the same. This seemed to be a world of giants. Everything was so huge, and it made people feel the greatest mental pressure. Haha, such pressure, how satisfying. Yi Chun felt a surge of excitement in his heart. He struck out with his palm and attacked an ancient tree. Rumble. The majestic energy instantly destroyed the ancient tree before him, and it fell to the ground with a loud rumble. The surrounding stream water was stirred up by the ancient tree's huge body, and the water splashed 100 feet high. Roar! Suddenly, an angry roar came from the forest as if it was warning Yi Chun, "You've disturbed my life." Yi Chun looked back and did not find anything unusual. He did not care at all. Even if he really disturbed someone, so what? The path of Heavenly Emperor should be walked according to his heart. Splash! After washing up, Yi Chun followed the stream and walked toward the mountain. He had appeared here out of nowhere, and it would not be that simple. Following the guidance of his sixth sense, Yi Chun walked forward. After walking for about an hour, there was a sudden rumble. Yi Chen listened carefully, and it seemed like a great battle was going on. Is there a good show to watch? Yi Chen's face revealed an excited expression. He did not want to be the only one in such a vast space. Lotuses bloomed under his feet, and he flew up to the 9 heavens. Yi Chen saw 10,000 miles with a glance, and he saw the surrounding wilderness. 1,000 miles away, a mountain that reached the 9 heavens appeared. On top of the mountain, there were countless combatants fighting on a mountain. At a glance, countless divine weapons were hung on the mountainside, the mountain peak, and everywhere else. There were those that shone with spiritual light, those that were dim, and those that were hidden deep in the mountain. There was no end to them. The Buddha Emperor's treasury. Yi Chen immediately thought of the divine weapon treasury that the venerable One Jia-in had mentioned. It really existed. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of energy impact was endless. What Yi Chen saw was that the combatants were dressed differently. They were not from the magic martial world or the primordial immortal world at all. This made Yi Chen even more interested. It's just like the 3 venerable ones said. Which cultivation level are these people from? In his excitement, Yi Chen came to the foot of the mountain. Thud, thud, thud. Suddenly, there was a series of footsteps. A group of people came before Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked over. This group of people was aggressive, and they did not come with good intentions. One of them stared at Yi Chen coldly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, as if Yi Chen had taken something from him. Facing such a scene, Yi Chen turned to look at the mountain and ignored them. Brat, how dare you be so arrogant after occupying my sea dragon country's territory? Damn it. Hearing this, Yi Chen's eyes turned slightly cold. Such a vast land was given by heaven and earth. How did it become someone's territory? I walk between heaven and earth, and walk the path of heaven and earth. How is this occupying? Get lost or else. I'll kill without mercy. What? The man was instantly enraged. His eyes widened, and the blood in his body surged as a dragon roared. Chapter 22:41. Kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. Otherwise, you'll die without a burial place. The sea dragon cultivator could tell that Yi Chen only had a true immortal cultivation base at a glance. Moreover, he came from the chaotic universe. To them, the chaotic universe was the lowest existence. This time, he wanted to show off his race's advantage to suppress Yi Chen. Is that so? However, he didn't know that he had encountered the toughest person in the universe. Such remarks would only put him in a difficult position and put him on the spot. Meanwhile, the argument between Yi Chen and the powerhouse had attracted the attention of the people from other organizations. In the 9th method, the organizations were complicated. They even came from different universes. No one could be completely sure that they were invincible. They could only observe and find out the other party's trump card to hide their own strength. Therefore, as long as there was a good show to watch, the powerhouses would automatically stop what they were doing and come to see what was going on. After getting everyone's attention, the sea dragon cultivator became even more arrogant. He thought that it was a good opportunity for him to make a name for himself, so he had to seize it. Before you die, I'll let you know who killed you. I'm the guard, the 3rd prince of Sea Dragon, Green Lizard. You claim to be from Dragon Country, but I didn't expect you to be a lizard. I didn't expect that. Yi Chen revealed a disdainful smile when he heard the man introduce himself. The man was completely furious when he heard that. In the Sea Dragon Country, not everyone was a true dragon. Only members of the royal family or those with outstanding talents could pass the Dragon Gate and transform into a dragon. Those who were not talented enough or had impure bloodlines could only become a lowly dragon. As a low-level dragon, Green Lizard had always wanted to prove himself. Only then would he have a chance to stand out. Now that Yi Chen had exposed his true identity, he was naturally furious. Thud, thud, thud. At that moment, footsteps were heard. Yi Chen looked out of the corner of his eye. The person walking in front was dressed luxuriously. His dragon-scale battle robe was shining with silver light. Although the aura he exuded was powerful, it was similar to Green Lizard's. It was obvious that this person was also from Sea Dragon Country and was most likely the 3rd prince that Green Lizard mentioned. Your Royal Highness. Seeing that person, Green Lizard hurriedly bowed to him. appearing very respectful. Huh, don't worry about me. I heard that this person wants to challenge my sea dragon country guard. I'm here to see what's going on. The third prince quickly glanced at Yi Chun, and the corner of his lips curled up into a sinister smile. He had already recognized that Yi Chun was just a mere true immortal. In his opinion, with Yi Chun's cultivation base, he should not have appeared in this place. However, since he had come, he would die here. Upon hearing the third prince's words, Green Lizard immediately understood what he meant. He turned around to look at Yi Chun and revealed a bloody smile. An invisible killing intent spread from his body and kept pressuring Yi Chun. Haha, interesting. The Chaos Verse really is full of idiots. That's right. How could a minor true immortal come here? A lizard got a true, he true, dragon, Chun. I king. Chun. For a time, the powerhouses searching for treasures on the peak began to discuss. No one was optimistic about Yi Chun. They even looked down on him and mocked him. Yi Chun had heard these words too many times. It did not affect him at all. He scanned the entire space from the corner of his eyes. The figures of the powerhouses were reflected in his eyes. Following that, the ancient god space turned on the analysis system and quickly analyzed the information that was sent into his mind. Yi Chun did not expect these people's cultivation bases. Many of these seemingly young cultivators were peak mystic immortals. There were even a considerable number of heavenly immortals. It was obvious how powerful the environment these people grew up in. Yi Chun now understood what the venerable Master Jiayin had said. The ninth technique was indeed full of danger. If he wanted to survive, he could not rely on brute force alone. Kid, you must be scared silly. Unfortunately, you were too arrogant earlier. Now, the third prince wants me to deal with you. You'd better be on your way. It's indeed troublesome for a fly to fly around in front of me. I'll send you on your way then. How about that? Yi Chun suddenly turned to look at Green Lizard, his eyes filled with fear. At that moment, Green Lizard felt a powerful threat to his body. He even looked at the person in front of him, who had transformed into the Lord of Hell, deciding his life and death. Green Lizard kept shaking his head, trying to stay awake. This movement soon attracted the attention of the powerhouses. Those who could come here were all genius-level cultivators from various universes. They could tell at a glance that Green Lizard had been stunned by Yi Chun's psyche shock. In fact, this shock was very effective, causing Green Lizard to fall into it. Generally speaking, if one wanted to shock the other party with psyche shock, one needed to have a foundation that far surpassed the other party. Green Lizard, who was peak mystic immortal, should not be shocked by a true immortal cultivator. Many powerhouses began to reevaluate Yi Chun. Green Lizard, a powerful voice rushed over, causing Green Lizard's entire body to tremble dozens of times. The vital energy and blood in his body surged, and he almost collapsed to the ground. He suddenly woke up. This sound wave came from the third prince of Sea Dragon Country, Long Xian. Third prince. This powerful voice not only woke Green Lizard up, but also destroyed Yi Chun's psyche suppression. If the servant can't do it, the master can do it. You guys can do it together. Yi Chun sneered and looked at Long Xian. Long Xian's anger rose, and he was furious. As the third prince of Sea Dragon Country, he was also a person of status. He did not expect to be shouted at by a hooligan from the chaotic universe. No matter what, he would lose face. It was precisely because he wanted to save face that Long Xian would not make a move. He wanted Green Lizard to kill Yi Chun. This was the only way for him to let the lowest warrior under him defeat the arrogant person in front of him. This was the best way for him to explain to everyone. Green Lizard, kill him without mercy. Yes. After the order was given, Green Lizard revealed a violent expression. He was shocked by Yi Chun's psyche suppression. This was a great humiliation. He wanted to kill. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Green Lizard suddenly crouched on the ground with both hands, as if he had turned into a four-legged animal. Then, he bent his body and rushed out at an extremely fast speed. This was Green Lizard's ultimate technique. It was no problem for him to deal with a mystic immortal let alone a true immortal. He wanted to use the fastest and cruelest way to tear Yi Chen apart. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The ancient god's eye between Yi Chen's brows flashed. In an instant, all of Green Lizard's movements were predicted by Yi Chen. Stop! Psst! However, there was a piercing sound, and the grand sword Qi instantly pierced through the ground. Chapter 2242. The sword Qi was so fast that no one had time to observe it. When they looked at the ground, they realized that the sword Qi had pierced Green Lizard's arm. Huh! Many of the prince's guards of Sea Dragon Country exclaimed. At the same time, Long Xian and the other powerhouses were shocked. Whether it was accuracy, speed, or energy, the sword Qi that Yi Chen had unleashed earlier had definitely reached the level of a peak mystic immortal. As a prodigy of the various major forces, he still had this little bit of judgment. However, this was where the problem lay. How could a true immortal unleash sword Qi that was equivalent to the strength of a peak mystic immortal and even block Green Lizard's killing blow so accurately? Green Lizard felt terrible and was in extreme pain. Blood flowed from his arm and dyed the entire ground below him red. At this moment, Yi Chen had one foot on his back and was looking down at him. He looked up at Yi Chen. All he saw was a black shadow under the sunlight. He could not see Yi Chen's face clearly. It was a mysterious and powerful suppression. Green Lizard immediately fell into endless fear. No, impossible. Green Lizard roared. He could not believe that as a guard of the third prince, he had lost to a nobody from the chaotic universe. A country bumpkin wants to compete with this emperor? Break for me. What? Under Green Lizard's horrified gaze, Yi Chen's sword Qi turned. Green Lizard's arm was instantly cut off and flew 10 meters away. My arm! Scram! With a cold shout, Yi Chen kicked and Green Lizard flew out instantly. Not only was Green Lizard completely defeated, but the third prince of Sea Dragon Country, Long Xian, was also humiliated. His entire body was trembling, and he was in a rage. As someone from the Wildlands universe, he didn't have much of an advantage over the other universes. The only people he could bully were those from the Chaosverse. This had been a good opportunity to establish his dominance, but that idiot Green Lizard had ruined it. Ha! On the mountain peak, Long Xian heard the mocking voices from all over. These were people from other powerful universes mocking them from the Wild Universe. Your Royal Highness, Green Lizard's entire body trembled as blood flowed out. However, he didn't dare to rest. He got up and knelt before the third prince. He was very clear that he had messed things up in front of so many universe experts. This was a humiliation to the Sea Dragon Country, and he was the sinner. Green Lizard, you bastard, go to hell. Long Xian was infuriated. With a dragon roar, a dragon rushed towards Qing Shi. Spare my life. Green Lizard's eyes widened and then bulged to the limit. His entire body exploded. Blood, tendons, and bones were all destroyed by this dragon-shaped attack. What's your name? To everyone's surprise, Long Xian asked Yi Chen. Yi Chen, very good. I should thank you for getting rid of this trash for me. Now, this prince will give you a chance to achieve meteoric success. How about it? Oh, you don't have to doubt me. I want you to join my guards. This is the greatest honor for a cultivator of the chaotic universe. The third prince, Long Xian, revealed a strange smile, as if he was proud of himself for being able to adapt to the situation. As long as he subdued Yi Chen, the humiliation he had suffered because of Yi Chen would disappear automatically. This was the best opportunity for Sea Dragon Country to save face. The other powerhouses looked at Yi Chen and thought to themselves, this Long Xian is indeed capable. Just when everyone thought that Yi Chen would happily become Long Xian's subordinate, Yi Chen shook his head slightly. Then, he snorted and walked directly toward the peak. The cultivators of the Sea Dragon Country's prince's guard were stunned. The third prince's invitation was completely ignored by Yi Chen. This humiliation was even greater than Green Lizard's failure. They were completely looked down upon. Yi Chen, the third prince, was furious. Waves of dragon energy rushed toward him. I don't have time to waste with you, Your Royal Highness. Ha ha ha. Yichen let out a strange laugh, and then threw a punch. The same dragon-shaped power collided with the third prince's dragon energy. He was not at a disadvantage at all. Yichen became famous after this battle. Not only did he kill the guard of the third prince of the sea dragon country in the wild universe, but he also disobeyed the third prince's invitation and turned around to leave. This news spread quickly, making Yichen's name known to everyone. Yichen looked at the peak in front of him. There was light shining everywhere, and waves of divine weapon energy rushed toward him. Taking a deep breath, Yichen sensed that there were all kinds of divine weapons on this peak. Whether it was demonic ability, dark ability, divine power, or immortal power, he could find a compatible energy. This made Yichen very excited. "Fellow cultivator, you're not bad." At this moment, a voice came. Yichen turned around and saw a little fatty who looked very spirited. Moreover, Yichen sensed a familiar energy from this guy. This person seemed to come from the same universe as him. "There's no need to look. I'm also from the chaotic universe. My name is Shami Tua." The little fatty introduced himself enthusiastically. Yichen could see this person's motive at a glance. In this environment, people from the chaotic universe were discriminated against. Moving alone was very dangerous. Now that a chaotic universe combatant had appeared in front of him, Shami Tua would certainly not give up the opportunity to find someone. "Shami Tua, you'd better stay away from me. This emperor isn't someone who's easy to talk to." With that, Yichen left Shami Tua and walked toward the peak. This time, he came to the 9th Law Realm to find a suitable divine weapon for himself. Therefore, one more person by his side was one more trouble. Hey, don't be so heartless. You have to understand that in this environment, moving alone will undoubtedly result in death. We're both from the chaotic universe. You have to believe me. Yichen, no matter how Shami Tua kept calling from behind, Yichen did not look back. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Suddenly, a feeling came from a peak. Yichen clearly felt that this was an immortal power divine weapon. The powerful energy it emitted resonated with the immortal slaying flying dagger and the heavenly emperor's sword. Thud, thud, thud. Yichen released his movement technique and quickly rushed in that direction. "Kid, you've crossed the line." Just as Yichen was about to reach the destination of the sensing, a cold voice rang in his ears. "Cross the line? On a divine mountain like this, obtaining a divine weapon depends on one's own ability. Is there such a thing as crossing the line?" Yichen asked. "You crossed the line." The other party did not respond, but repeated the same words. Naturally, Yichen knew what it meant. Ha 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 ha. Yichen's domineering laughter reverberated in all directions, instantly attracting the attention of many combatants. They were thinking that this kid was really a newborn calf that was not afraid of tigers. He dared to provoke someone from the heavenly immortal sect. Chapter 22:43. Look, this kid really knows how to cause trouble. He just angered the Long Xian of the Sea Dragon country, and now he's facing the marauding sword of the immortal sect. He must be tired of living. That's right. In the 9th Law Realm, preserving one's strength and acting cautiously is the way to save one's life. What an idiot. Let's see how he dies at the hands of the marauding sword. The difference between their cultivation and talent is too great. The immortal sect was a large sect from the chaos universe, and the marauding sword was the best of the younger generation in the sect. Therefore, there were no other cultivators looking for treasures within 100 feet of the marauding sword. Yichen's goal was to find a suitable divine weapon for himself. He did not care about who was around or what restrictions there were. It was only a matter of time before he met these people. The chaos universe was considered very powerful among the various universes. The immortal sect was also ranked among the top in the chaos universe. Among the younger generation, those who could be called geniuses were at least at the heavenly immortal stage. As the saying went, becoming a heavenly immortal within 100 years was the basic requirement of the immortal sect for geniuses. The marauding sword had entered the ranks of heavenly immortals in the 76th year and mastered the marauding sword technique. He traveled the world and eradicated the 10 evildoers, making a name for himself. Now, he occupied a place alone. It was a symbol of his arrogance. "Get lost," the marauding sword shouted, and locked his cold eyes on Yi Chun. He wanted to use his power to intimidate Yi Chun and make him leave. Yi Chun's actions were different from ordinary people. In the eyes of the powerhouses, he was like a country bumpkin from the countryside who walked into the palace and faced high officials and jade palaces. It was reasonable for him to be unable to adapt. For such a person, the marauding sword thought that even if he killed him, he would not be able to prove his strength. As long as he knew what was good for him and left, it would be fine. However, he did not know that he had provoked a real god of death. "In this vast world, I am the only one. No one can take away the divine weapon that I value. It does not belong to you." Yi Chun responded forcefully. His voice shook all directions. Instantly, countless powerhouses turned to look at him because his voice was too shocking, too emotional, and too domineering. To be able to say such words in front of so many universe geniuses, it could not be explained by saying that a newborn calf was not afraid of a tiger. He was really arrogant. That was what everyone was thinking. Not only did Yi Chun challenge the Longzi sword, but he also challenged all the geniuses of the various universes. Who is this kid? He simply doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you speak in such a manner in the ninth law realm? You won't be able to atone for your sins, even if you die once. What an unreasonable guy. If he is not a match for the Longzi sword, I will personally kill him. The powerhouses spoke one after another, mercilessly condemning Yi Chun. Many powerhouses were eyeing Yi Chun covetously, thinking that if Yi Chun dared to run out of the range of the Longzi sword, they would attack decisively and kill him. Yi Chun's words had alarmed the powerhouses in all directions and attracted everyone's attention. This made the Longzi sword very unhappy. Originally, he wanted to draw out his territory to look for divine weapons. Now, because of Yi Chun, his territory had become the focus of everyone's attention. In such a dangerous environment, even he did not dare to say that he could control the situation. For a true immortal from the Chaos verse to ruin their plans, one could imagine how the prodigal sword was feeling right now. "If you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, a sword gleam shot out from the marauding sword's hand. It went straight for Yi Chun's throat like a meteor. Huh! Yi Chun was shocked. He did not expect the speed of the sword chi to be so fast. It had already surpassed the level of a peak mystic immortal. This was definitely a sword attack that only a heavenly immortal could unleash. At such a close distance, with such a fast sword attack, no one could defend against it. For many powerhouses, it was the first time they had seen the marauding sword in action. This sword attack was enough to shock everyone. Using such power on a mere true immortal was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Everyone shook their heads, thinking that Yi Chun would die. Swoosh! A bloody mark appeared on Yi Chun's throat. Then blood oozed out. It seemed that everything had been settled, and no one could change this result. With such strength, you want to be arrogant in front of so many geniuses? How foolish. After saying that, the marauding sword walked back to the position where Yi Chun had sensed before. However, after taking 2 steps, he suddenly stopped. The powerhouses looked at the marauding sword, feeling puzzled. Yi Chun was already dead. What was he still hesitating for? At this moment, the marauding sword's face showed anger. With the point of his sword, the so-called corpse of Yi Chun suddenly fell to the ground. What appeared in front of everyone was only a wooden stake. Ha ha ha! Laughter came from the sky. Following that, the 8 gates divine disc, door of opening, opened and Yi Chun descended from it. A mere substitution technique made you think that I'm dead. It seems that this so-called universe genius is nothing more than this. All the geniuses looked at Yi Chun with anger. Yi Chun had challenged all the geniuses with a single sentence. After all, no one present could see that he had used the substitution technique. This itself was very suspicious. Impossible. What cultivation base do we have? How can we not see that you used a substitution technique? Yes, what sorcery did you use? It's impossible that we couldn't see it clearly. Speak clearly or die. The powerhouses wanted to know what method Yi Chun had used to fool everyone. It's very simple. When I used the space substitution technique, I also used a little hypnosis. Hypnosis? Everyone was shocked. They did not know that they had been secretly hypnotized by Yi Chun. Many of the scenes they saw, including Yi Chun's throat being stabbed, were just scenes that Yi Chun wanted them to see. The powerhouses were played like this. Those who had looked down on Yi Chun before were now amazed and ashamed. However, soon they walked out of this shame. They were all geniuses of a high-level universe. How could they admire a person with a low cultivation base from a low-level universe? This was unreasonable. You'll regret your actions. A cold voice rang out. Everyone felt a chill in the depths of their souls. Everyone knew very well that the Marauder Sword would definitely explode after being played like this. Then let me see your true strength. Since he had come to this place, where many geniuses stood side by side, Yi Chun wanted to challenge the strongest person here and verify his strength. Whoosh! Another strike. It was so fast that it could not be blinked. It frantically attacked Yi Chun's vital points. Yi Chun's brows furrowed. The ancient god power in his body erupted, and the night demon battle armor fused with the black gold glaze to protect his body. Clang, clang, clang. Sword chi whistled. The blade was sharp and boundless sparks burst forth like meteors. Chapter 2244. Clang, clang, clang. The Marauder Sword's boundlessly sharp sword energy attacked Yi Chun like a roaring dragon or a furious beast. However, when the sword energy hit Yi Chun's body was like a mountain. He did not move at all. Only sparks flew. On the peak, the powerhouses were shocked. Even if Yi Chun came from the chaotic universe, such a strong defense was definitely enough to shock the world. Many geniuses began to pay attention to Yi Chun again. Among them, there were many powerhouses from high-ranked universes. They never expected that a little immortal from the chaotic universe could be so strong. This level of defense was enough to be called a peerless genius even in a high-ranked universe. It should be known that this was the Marauder Sword's ultimate divine ability. Someone could stand as still as a mountain and take it head-on. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The sword chi rampaged around Yi Chun's body. Waves of sword force caused Yi Chun's body to tremble continuously. Yi Chun was shocked by such power, but the Marauder Sword was even more shocked. He stared at Yi Chun, unable to believe that his sure-kill move had been blocked in such a way. It was like an ant trying to shake a tree, unable to be shaken. Before, if there was such an analogy, the Marauder Sword would definitely think that he was the tall and boundless tree, and Yi Chun was the arrogant ant. However, it was the opposite. The Marauder Sword's dignity was swept away in front of the powerhouses. I didn't expect the people of the Heavenly Immortal sect to be so useless. They can't even deal with a kid from the chaotic universe. It's really unbelievable. The lowest genius of the Heavenly Blade sect is a Heavenly Immortal. Let's see if the Heavenly Immortal sect is too weak. For a time, many rumors spread among the peaks, especially among the sects from the primordial universe. Many of them were not on good terms with the Heavenly Immortal sect. Now is the best time to mock them. These rumors soon affected the Marauder Sword. His former calm as a powerhouse was slowly distorted by shame and anger. His sharp and cold eyes were now fixed on one person. It was Yi Chun. You're still making a fool of yourself. Why don't you retreat and let me go? Otherwise, you'll lose your life. In such a tense situation, everyone thought that Yi Chun should stop and keep his life. Although Yi Chun had blocked the Marauder Sword, the experts still believed that the Marauder Sword was much stronger than Yi Chun. If they fought to the death, Yi Chun would definitely die. However, Yi Chun once again shocked them, or rather, gave them a surprise. Yi Chun's words did not take the longsword seriously at all. In fact, through his behavior, Yi Chun was telling everyone that the group of prodigies were all trash. Soon, all the powerhouses locked their cold gazes on Yi Chun. This time, it was not just the longsword who was humiliated, but everyone else. Longzi's sword exhaled slightly, and then the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Suddenly, his eyes bulged out like a demon's. At this moment, he no longer endured, but completely released his power. He no longer cared about his face. He didn't care about the level of the opponent's realm, and he didn't care about the opponent's background. Killing the opponent was his only thought. Very good, very good. The Longzi sword let out a sinister laugh. The long sword in his hand soared through the 9 heavens and transformed into the shape of a ferocious beast. It broke through the clouds and returned to his hand. This was none other than his divine weapon, the Longzi sword. Marauder sword, don't let us down. He's just a brat from the chaotic universe. Don't let him succeed. He has no idea what kind of group he has provoked. The cultivators of every universe here are far above him. Indeed, all the powerhouses stopped mocking the Longzi sword because they realized that mocking the Longzi sword was equivalent to mocking themselves. Yi Chen's words had crossed their bottom line. Before them, Yi Chen was their common enemy. Kill him. Finally, those people no longer cared about their face and directly shouted that they wanted to kill Yi Chen. Ha ha! Faced with the full power of the powerhouses, Yi Chen sneered. Then, he looked at the Longzi sword and made a provocative gesture. Brat, you'll pay with your life for your actions. You'll be trampled under my feet and groaned in pain. Is that so? I hope so. Give me some pressure so that I'll have the motivation to move forward. Unfortunately, it's impossible with just you. Kill. The Longzi sword's eyes emitted a blood-red light and directly evolved the sword Qi, striking first. Faced with the blood-red sword Qi, Yi Chen's body was covered in black and gold glaze. He was completely fearless. Clang! The sword Qi bombarded Yi Chen's body like a dragonfly skimming the water. There was no ripple. Clang, clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, the sword Qi attacked again. It was like thousands of swords attacking at the same time. There was no way to dodge. Such sword power was really shocking. However, in front of Yi Chen's indestructible body, there was only a halberd sinking into the sand. With his eyes wide open, the Longzi sword looked at the indestructible body in front of him that was flickering with black and gold light. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Suddenly, the Longzi sword stopped and then led the sword Qi to soar into the sky. Above the 9 heavens, there was starlight shining down. Together with the sword Qi, the power of the stars was activated, condensing a super strong astral soul. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook, and the world shook. A super strong astral sword shadow appeared behind the Longzi sword. It was a unique secret technique, astral soul sword shadow. Then within this astral soul, there was a super strong penetrating power. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. White lightning constantly wrapped around the blade of the Longzi sword. In an extremely small space, the most powerful energy burst out, which was the source of the super strong penetrating power. Seeing the light of the astral soul continuously added to the Longzi sword, Yi Chen's eyes were slightly cold, and his expression was serious. Interesting. With a simple comment, Yi Chen's body shook, and he stood in a horse stance, facing the Longzi sword. Huh? You're too arrogant. You're courting death. Huh? Kill me first if you can. During this period, Yi Chen had absorbed too much opportunity energy, and his 2-star ancient god power had reached the peak. With the help of the memory fragments in the heaven space, Yi Chen was going to develop the ultimate secret of the 2-star ancient god body. Since you want to die so much, I'll fulfill your wish. The Longzi sword's body was surrounded by blood-red sword Qi, and the sword spirit behind him had completely merged with the sword. At this moment, the man and the sword became one, and it was the strongest attack. Facing such a powerful sword, Yi Chen smiled coldly, not caring at all. He opened his arms, waiting for the opponent's attack to come. This kid must be crazy. Everyone thought that Yi Chen had lost his mind, and that he knew that he could not escape, so he decided to go all out. Kill. The Longzi sword flew up, turned into a sword Qi, and instantly stabbed in front of Yi Chen. Swoosh. However, there was a sound of stabbing, and blood flowed from the wound, staining the ground. Chapter 22:45. Seeing the blade piercing Yi Chen's muscles, all the powerhouses cheered. That's right. He should have done this a long time ago. How dare a piece of trash from the chaotic universe act so arrogantly in front of all the powerhouses of the universe? Using such power to kill this person, the Longzi sword is just SOSO. Haha, it's finally done. We can continue looking for treasures. Not only did the powerhouses mock Yi-chun, but they also mocked the Longzi sword. Just as everyone was about to look for treasures again, they saw the Longzi sword's figure suddenly stand still as if he was frozen. This situation was not simple. Everyone frowned and looked at the battlefield again. "You," the Longzi sword said fiercely. The muscles on his arm were bulging, constantly gathering power. But not only did he not withdraw the blade, but it also continued to move forward toward Yi-chun's body. This was definitely not his intention, but the blade could not escape the control of a force and continued to move forward on its own. Ha ha! Yi-chun let out a maniacal laugh. There was a strange and excited expression on his face, as if he had entered a state where his mind was super resistant to being sealed. Clang, clang, clang. The muscles on his abdomen continued to condense like a dragon, entangling the Longzi sword's blade. The super muscle strength forced the blade to move toward his body. That's right, this was not the Longzi sword's intention, but Yi-chun's own control. At this moment, everyone's spirit was instantly shocked. They seemed to have seen a super crazy action, a super madman in front of them. Before this, they had seen too many strange scenes, but this was the first time all the geniuses had seen something like this. They did not know what had happened. The script should have been the Longzi sword assassinating Yi-chun, but the strange scene in front of them was telling them that things were not that simple. "Longzi sword, what are you waiting for? Cut this kid in half." A powerhouse shouted angrily. He did not want the Longzi sword to waste time. This was a kind of delay to the entire group of geniuses, a kind of humiliation. However, the Longzi sword also wanted to pull out his divine weapon, but he could not do it. ****. The power of the Longzi sword's body erupted. At this moment, he wanted to completely break through his limits. He wanted to give up all his dignity and use all his strength to kill the opponent in front of him. Whether he was willing to admit it or not, the person in front of him was the strongest opponent he had ever faced in his life. Prodigal sword, why don't you just tell us what's bothering you? Why don't you just tell those idiots that you can't pull out the divine weapon? You can't twist it around, and you can't kill me? Speak. You. The Longzi sword was humiliated like this, but he couldn't refute it. He couldn't even resist. Was this person really a true immortal from the chaotic universe? Was he really a cultivator from some low-level universe? Why did he feel that Yi-chun's strength was above his? This was the first time he had felt this way. A true immortal's strength was above a peak heavenly immortal like him. Impossible, I don't believe it. The Marauder sword was also going crazy. He directly sacrificed his own blood, grabbing the edge of his sword. At this moment, the power of his sword's soul erupted. He was finally showing his true power to everyone. Z. The shape of the sword soul appeared behind the Marauder sword once again. The vast power of the Star Soul was constantly injected into the Marauder sword's body. He didn't care about his endurance. He wanted to absorb the infinite power of the stars and kill Yi-chun. Clang, clang, clang. Yi-chun's muscles twisted and turned rapidly. The Marauder sword's blade was once again devoured. As the power gradually increased, the Marauder sword felt that his divine weapon was about to be completely devoured by Yi-chun. Don't even think about it. The Longzi sword roared, and all the power of the Star Soul was completely infused into the blade. The natal divine weapon, together with its master's blood, enhanced the power of the sword soul. This sword could easily kill a fairy immortal. Even the supreme geniuses of the other universes were shocked when they felt the power of this sword. The Marauder sword's strength was absolutely not a problem. Even among all the powerhouses in the universe, he was an existence above average. This sword was unstoppable. Everyone's emotions were stirred up by the Marauder sword. Many powerhouses cheered for the Marauder sword. They wanted to defeat Yi-chun, this evil force. Since he could not enter the eyes of others, he would make them fear, and make them kneel at his feet. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless dark matter burst out from Yi Chen's body and covered the divine weapon. The three powerful forces that were about to burst out were now entangled by the sky snake and suppressed by the black tortoise. Roar! Accompanied by a crazy roar, the sky snake and the black tortoise appeared behind Yi Chen. Feeling this power, the marauder sword's eyes dimmed. He revealed a look of pain, unwillingness, and even fear. He felt that his life-divine weapon rushed toward Yi Chen's body uncontrollably. Finally, it disappeared in front of Yi Chen's body. My arm. What followed was an even more terrifying scene. Because the marauder sword did not give up his divine weapon, his arm was devoured by Yi Chen's body. The black gold glaze's strong corrosion instantly made the marauder sword feel unbearable pain. Now tell me, why did the high and mighty marauder sword become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? The demon's eye bloomed between Yi Chen's eyebrows. The nether divine power covered the sky, and a grand shadow covered the entire sky. The marauder sword was completely subdued. His spirit was completely suppressed and conquered by Yi Chen. He could no longer fight against the heavenly emperor in front of him. Whether it was physically or mentally, he was completely crushed. Clang! The marauder sword knelt on the ground like a walking corpse that had lost its soul. All the powerhouses were stunned. They saw the genius cultivator of the primordial universe, the heavenly immortal sect, the marauder sword kneeling at the feet of a true immortal whose cultivation was far inferior to his. At this moment, everyone's worldview was shaken. Yi Chen, the person they disdained to face, was the peak that they could not surpass. I've lost. So arrogant? Senior Yi Chen, I've lost. I can't be compared to you at all. I'm an idiot. Ha ha. Yi Chen's laughter was like a piercing spear, constantly piercing the hearts of everyone. It was time for the arrogant geniuses to witness a true genius. Kacha, kacha, kacha. At this moment, the marauder sword heard the sound of steel twisting and breaking. His body became incomparably painful because this was caused by the same origin of his body. My divine weapon. That's right. It has become nourishment for the heavenly emperor's sword. Panga Godhead, 2-star ancient god ultimate ultimacy, heavenly furnace. Chapter 2246. Smelting a divine weapon. Hearing this, the combatants fell into a state of shock. One had to know that the Longzi sword's divine weapon was a life-divine weapon. No one knew how tough it was. Yet, Yi Chen had forcefully smelted it with his own body. No one could accept such a shocking explanation. The Longzi sword's failure and Yi Chen's supreme divine ability made the combatants realize that although this person was from the chaotic universe, he was not on the same level as an ordinary person from the chaotic universe. Ha, see that? This person is from the chaotic universe. Now you know that the chaotic universe is a lowly universe. Our universe can produce a super genius like Yi Chen. Yi Chen's defeat of the Longzi sword made Shamido excited. He kept shouting at the combatants, happier than if he had won himself. As a genius of the Buddha realm, Shamido had the cultivation of a heavenly immortal. However, seeing Yi Chen's strength, he knew that the person before him was the strongest combatant in the chaotic universe. The combatants were speechless. They had seen Yi Chen's divine ability with their own eyes. Such strength was enough to earn everyone's respect. However, with the defeat of the long sword, all the powerhouses felt extremely humiliated. The genius of the Sky Immortal sect had suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of Yi Chen. Did this not mean that those forces or geniuses who were inferior to the Sky Immortal sect and the long sword were inferior to Yi Chen? Many prodigies looked at Yi Chen coldly. Although they did not have the courage to fight him head-on, they already wanted to kill Yi Chen. Understand your weakness. That's the biggest lesson I'll teach you. Scram. Yes, the Longzi sword had lost the treasure hunt, his divine weapon, and his dignity. All he managed to do was keep his life. The combatants looked at him mockingly. He's trying his best to stay alive. He doesn't care about the goddess sect's reputation at all. He knelt before a person from the chaotic universe and admitted his defeat. What's the point of living? The goddess sect will never let such a traitor go. Forget it. We'll just look for treasures. The combatants no longer paid attention to the Longzi sword and turned to look for treasures. Yi Chun put away the black tortoise dharma form. The Longzi sword's divine weapon power in the Heavenly Emperor sword was completely infused. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. As the powerful divine weapon light bloomed, the Heavenly Emperor's sword's quality rose again. So. Boundless sword chi was automatically released from the celestial large sword and spread out in all directions. This naturally released sword chi already possessed the power to kill a perfected immortal. It was evident how powerful the Marauder sword was as a divine weapon. Ha ha ha, Yi Chun, you've really made the cultivators of the chaotic universe proud. Shami Tuo flew over and said with a smile, "Don't follow me." Yi Chun responded coldly. Subsequently, he headed in the direction where he had sensed the treasure earlier. Although you're a bit aloof and arrogant, you really are a genius of our chaos verse. I, Shamitra, acknowledge you. I don't need anyone's approval. Heaven's Road, Dugu Xing. Such boldness. Shamata had a look of admiration on his face when he saw Yi Chun enter the peak alone. On the mountain path, Yi Chun could feel the divine weapon chi even more clearly. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Suddenly, numerous inexplicable bolts of lightning appeared in the forest ahead. When these bolts of lightning struck down from the sky, they automatically formed various indistinct patterns. Yi Chun looked at the patterns coldly and walked toward the place with the most patterns. That is, seeing the lightning descending from these flashing patterns, the powerhouses were shocked. Such a phenomenon. It's really the descent of a divine weapon. A divine weapon? No way. Could it be an existence that surpasses a supreme-grade immortal weapon? I heard that above immortal weapons is a divine weapon. It's a divine weapon that only the heavenly realm can obtain. It's unparalleled. When this phenomenon was discovered by the crowd, many powerhouses stared at Yi Chun because the appearance of a divine weapon was too shocking. This was an existence that was even more powerful than a supreme-grade immortal weapon. Everyone wanted to obtain it. As a result, the powerhouses of the universe surged toward Yi Chun. In the land of the phenomenon, the closer Yi Chun got, the more familiar the energy became. A divine weapon. Yi Chun also heard the crowd's discussion. His heart unconsciously connected with the memories in the heaven origin space. After all, those memories were necessary to activate the primordial spirit of a heavenly emperor. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Suddenly, powerful lightning appeared above Yi Chun's head. The quality of this lightning was so high that it was not inferior to the true immortal level heavenly tribulation at all. It was obvious that the end of the phenomenon was something extraordinary. 9 Thunder, God Materialization. In the face of such power, Yi Chun was fearless. He released the Thunder God Materialization. Suddenly, the Thunder God appeared, and all lightning was repelled. Yana watched as countless lightning bolts bombarded Yi Chun's body. Yi Chun did not care at all. He walked in the divine thunder and enjoyed the various trials of the ancient god body. What is this kid's body made of? It's too scary. The powerhouses who were following behind were all shocked. Yi Chun had just used his body to devour the Longsword's life divine weapon, and now he was personally walking in the heavenly thunder bombardment field, allowing the heavenly thunder to strike him. No one present had ever seen such a powerful physique. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The lightning descended and bombarded Yi Chun's body. Such a baptism was like undergoing tribulation. However, this level of tribulation was child's play to Yi Chun. There was no challenge at all. At this time, the energy density of the divine thunder rose wildly. The power of the divine thunder condensed into forms. These forms were the patterns that Yi Chun had seen in the divine thunder flash 5. Roar! The lightning condensed into the form of a ferocious beast and descended from the sky. Dragon capturing claw, heaven burning palm. In the face of such a ferocious beast, Yi Chun's eyes widened. Divine might, mystical flames, and ancient god might erupted at the same time. The massive dragon capturing claw grabbed one of the lightning beasts. With a swipe of the giant palm, the divine thunder in the sky collapsed and turned into pure thunder god power, which was absorbed by the 9 thunder god materialization. Many powerhouses were amazed by such a remarkable ability. They stopped in their tracks and did not dare to move forward. They were afraid that Yi Chun would feel threatened and attack them. After destroying several lightning beasts, Yi Chun saw the source of the lightning. It was a divine spear floating on a high platform, surrounded by a sea of lightning. The moment he saw the divine spear, 3 words appeared in Yi Chun's mind. Dragon capturing spear. The moment the 3 words appeared, Yi Chun's consciousness was instantly pulled away and entered a thunder realm. Yi Chun's brows furrowed as he looked around. He was above the 9 heavens, in the middle of the universe. Chapter 22:47. ZZT, ZZT, ZZT. As lightning struck the sky, a person appeared in the air. He wore a purple lightning blue robe, and his red hair floated in the air. Lightning gathered all over his body, making him look like a king. I'm a Thunder Dragon Lord. Are you ready to die by entering my territory? I don't want to die. My goal is to subdue you. Falsehood. The Thunder Dragon Lord's eyes emitted infinite lightning as he shouted falsehood. He turned into 2 powerful spear gleams and charged at Yi Chun. The lightning was faster than the blink of an eye. Yi Chun wanted to defend himself, but he felt that his body was already injured. Impossible. Yi Chun frowned and was shocked. His speed was unparalleled, and he had ancient god power and nether divine power to protect himself. It was impossible for him to be hit directly. What was going on? Just as he was hesitating, the Thunder Dragon Lord flew up to the heavens. The dragon restraining spear appeared in his hand. Everlasting Thunder Dragon, Lightning Strike, Dragon Energy Shield. Yi Chun activated his ancient god power in a hurry and created the Dragon Energy Shield. ZZT, ZZT, ZZT. Boom, boom, boom. The dragon restraining spear broke through the Dragon Energy Shield and went straight at Yi Chun's chest. It was the first time Yi Chun was so nervous. He used his divine consciousness to protect himself with the Heavenly Emperor's Sword. After the upgrade, the Heavenly Emperor's Sword already possessed the power of a supreme-grade immortal weapon. Yi Chun had absolute confidence in it. ZZT, ZZT, ZZT. Lightning flashed again as the Heavenly Emperor's Sword faced the dragon restraining spear. Suddenly, the divine weapon burst into flames, shattering mountains and rivers. The incomparable power shattered the entire consciousness space. Yi Chun returned to reality. Yi Chun looked at his body and realized that there was a scorching lightning wound on his body. He had been hit in the consciousness space. Very good. Such a divine weapon surpassed a peak immortal weapon. Yi Chun was determined to get it. Dong, dong, dong. Yi Chun charged forward. Golden lotuses appeared with each step. The powerhouses behind him followed him when they saw him, wanting to fight for the dragon restraining spear. However, when they touched the golden lotuses left by Yi Chun's footprints, they instantly entered the Heavenly Spirit Buddha's epiphyllum exorcism formation. What's this? Within the Dutchman's Night Flower Ray formation, everyone saw the 28 Guardian Vajra appear at the same time, stopping everyone in their tracks. There are no evil spirits in the Dutchman's Cloud Flower formation. Guardian Vajra, Heavenly Spirit Buddha's decree. Annihilation Bodhi, exorcise demons and protect lives. 28 Guardian Vajra appeared in the Great Formation. Suddenly, the Buddha's light shone brightly, and white rainbows rose in all directions. The Heavenly Spirit appeared here, and the sun and moon converged within. Damn it! Damn it! All the cultivators revealed ferocious expressions. They were all heaven's favorites from powerful forces in the various universes. How could they be restrained by this array? Let's break the formation together and chase after Yi Chun. All right. All the experts joined forces, wanting to break the epiphyllum demon-conquering formation. On the peak, Yi Chun soared into the sky while stepping on a lotus. He headed straight to where the dragon restraint spear was. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Sensing that Yi Chun was running, the dragon restraining spear's surroundings flickered with electricity. It suddenly soared into the sky and hovered high in the sky. Income or halt. Otherwise, heavenly lightning will strike your head and blood will splash 5 steps away. Ha, Thunder Dragon Lord, do you dare show yourself? Yi Chun shouted at the dragon restraining spear. Around them, many powerhouses who did not enter the epiphyllum demon-conquering formation were puzzled when they heard Yi Chun's words. Who was this Thunder Dragon Lord? Had Yi Chun already fought with the divine spear? They only saw Yi Chun stop on the road ahead and pondered. They did not know that Yi Chun had already met the Thunder Dragon Lord in the strange realm. Do you have the right? In the face of Yi Chun's provocation, the dragon restraining spear's entire body flashed. The majestic power of divine lightning descended from the sky and killed Yi Chun. 9 Thunder God. This time, Yi Chun was prepared. Before the divine spear attacked, Yi Chun activated the Thunder God avatar. However, the Thunder God avatar was hidden in the invisibility formation that Yi Chun had designed, so the Thunder Dragon Lord did not notice it. The Thunder Dragon Lord used the same trick this time. He wanted to use a strange divine power to make Yi Chun unable to defend himself. However, the red man behind Yi Chun had 9 Thunder God avatars appear. The majestic might of the heavenly Tao instantly counteracted the invisible lightning. Boom, boom, boom. In front of Yi Chun, above the Thunder God avatar, there were continuous rumbling explosions. It was the invisible attack that had touched the Thunder God avatar. However, the Thunder God avatar was formed by the heavenly Tao and had been subdued by Yi Chun, so it was naturally immune to divine lightning attacks. Therefore, no matter how powerful the invisible divine lightning attack was, it could not break through the Thunder God avatar's defense. The Thunder Dragon Lord clearly did not expect Yi Chun's adaptability to be so strong. It was only a battle in the consciousness realm, but he had already gained the ability to deal with this invisible attack. He was a genius indeed. Very well, being able to sense my existence means that you have some ability. However, no one can survive before me. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The dragon restraining spear once again displayed its divine power, attracting infinite divine lightning to gather, forming an extreme bolt of lightning that rushed toward the 9 Thunder Gods. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The 9 Thunder Gods sensed the powerful destructive power of this bolt of lightning. They put their palms together and activated the seal, activating their strongest defense. It's useless. The Thunder Dragon Lord sneered. The extreme bolt of lightning rushed toward the 9 Thunder Gods. The Thunder God avatar used both palms to resist this bolt of lightning. However, the moment the two sides came into contact, the 9 Thunder God avatar's palms instantly shattered without any warning. What? This invisible, tangible, mysterious destructive power could destroy the 9 Thunder God avatar that was the symbol of the heavenly Tao. The power of the divine weapon before Yi Chun once again changed his view of the world. Very good, very good. Yi Chun was extremely excited. He released the darkness pool. The vast darkness pool surged with dark matter, quickly covering the Thunder God avatar. Following that, the Thunder God's palms that were destroyed by the Thunder Dragon Lord recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Finally, the Dark Thunder God's arms were as good as new. Oh, that's surprising. The Thunder Dragon Lord let out a mocking laugh. The dragon restraining spear spun in the sky and split into 3. 3-phase variation, Thunder Dragon everlasting, heavenly human tribulations. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Instantly, 3 extremely destructive bolts of lightning began to gather. Just in time. A pair of divine demon wings appeared behind Yi Chun's back. Immediately, the power of yin and yang circulated, and the might of the divine demon spread out. 9. Skanda Spirit. Emperor Brush. The Emperor Brush flashed with the light of the Emperor and appeared in Yi Chun's hand. Immediately, various divine characters floated around Yi Chun, waiting for his orders. Emperor Brush, suppress seal imprison. Yi Chun released the three powers of the Emperor Brush at once. He wanted to weaken the opponent's attack as much as possible because the opponent before him made Yi Chun feel pressure that he had never felt before. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The Emperor Brush flashed with divine light. Instantly, the three dragon spears were restricted and the lightning began to weaken. Chapter 2248. The Thunder Dragon Lord felt the power of the dragon restraining spear drop rapidly, and the surrounding space was automatically sealed by the three strange powers. It was difficult for him to escape the interference of these strange powers, which made the Thunder Dragon Lord furious. Doing so will only increase the speed of your death. Is that so? Thunder Dragon Lord, show me your true strength. As you wish. The Thunder Dragon Lord activated the Dragon Restraining Spear's powerful lightning power in an attempt to forcefully break the Emperor Brush's seal. However, Yi Chun took advantage of this moment to catch his breath and began his next move. Heavenly Spirit 9 Accumulations, Dark King's Star-Picking Hand. With the support of the 9 Skandhas, the power of the Netherworld King's Star-Plucking Palm was increased by 300 times. With such a powerful palm imprint, even a Heaven Immortal would fall into its trap. Boom! The two Nether King's star-plucking palm imprints moved towards the sealed space for both sides. With the support of the 9 Skandhas, the space around the Thunder Dragon Sovereign became smaller and smaller. The various energies within the space grew stronger and stronger. Even the Thunder Dragon Sovereign felt an immense pressure. He had been constantly condensing the power of thunder and lightning, but now he was completely trapped in a cocoon of his own making. He had strengthened the explosive power within the space. Once he lost balance, the entire space would explode, and the dragon-taming spear would not be able to escape the danger of destruction. Yi Chun. Only then did the Thunder Dragon Lord understand how terrifying Yi Chun was. Not only was his strength reflected in his foundation and talent, but he also had superb thinking ability. He was able to take advantage of unfavorable conditions and create favorable conditions for himself. This was the most terrifying thing about him. What do you say, Chief Lightning Dragon? Do you have any other way to fight me? Why don't you submit to me now, and I'll make your name resound throughout the universe? What do you say? Ha ha! Suddenly, the Thunder Dragon Lord laughed out loud. Yi Chun frowned slightly as he sensed a powerful aura approaching from behind. Unfortunately, the heavens didn't grant you your wish, Yi Chun. Just as the Thunder Dragon Sovereign was laughing, a figure flew out from behind him. The long sword in his hand cut through the cosmos, slashing at the Nether King's star-plucking palm. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion. Yi Chun sensed that the power of the Nether King's star-plucking hand had decreased by 2/3. With such power, this person's cultivation base was at least an intermediate-level heavenly immortal. Yi Chun turned his head abruptly. When he saw the person's attire, he instantly realized that the person must be from the heavenly immortal sect. Yi Chun, you dare to offend the heavenly immortal sect. Do you still think you can be safe? The newcomer had cold eyes and a stern voice. He was dressed in a black robe, but his face was fair and his skin was fine. He looked like an actor. Ha ha! This emperor's journey is to make the entire world my enemy. What's the use? Faced with the sudden change of events, Yi Chun turned around and attacked the swordsman with his palm. Boom! The majestic palm print burned with mystical fire, but the swordsman swung the sword in his hand, using heavenly immortal laws to forcefully suppress Yi Chun's mystical fire. Yi Chun wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to deal with the Thunder Dragon Lord. But when he looked up at the sky, the Thunder Dragon Lord's true body appeared. He raised the dragon restraining spear high up in the air and stabbed it towards the 9 heavens. In an instant, the entire sealed space was swept away by the power of thunder and lightning, destroying everything. The current situation was extremely unfavorable. If this went on, Yi Chun knew that he would not be able to escape the predicament of becoming the enemy of his father's generation. Ha ha ha! Yi Chun, things don't go according to our wishes. Now, let me send you on your way. The Thunder Dragon Lord laughed maniacally. Holding onto the dragon restraining spear, he summoned the 9 heavens of wind and lightning. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The 9 heavens shook at the same time. It was the lightning dragon lord's sure-kill divine ability. 9 heavens tempest, god-slaying spear. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The boundless power of wind and lightning gathered on the dragon restraining spear. Not only the 3 major seals of the Emperor brush, but even the Nether King's star-plucking palm was instantly suppressed, unable to resist. Now, the Thunder Dragon Lord had condensed god-slaying power. At the same time, behind him, the black-robed swordsman moved at the same time, seizing any opportunity to kill. Yi Chun, now you've fallen into a state of certain death. The black-robed swordsman's eyes were bloodshot. He held the divine weapon in his hand in a reverse grip and took a bow. This was the prelude to the release of a killing technique. Celestial Sword Kill. Whoosh. However, a black light instantly disappeared into the space. No one could see the black-robed swordsman's movements or his position. Danger ahead and behind. A state of certain death. In the face of this life and death crisis, Yi Chun closed his eyes. What is this kid trying to do? Waiting for death? The various powerhouses saw that Yi Chun was like a person who had given up struggling and was waiting for death. Rumble. At this moment, there was a shocking explosion. The vast darkness pool was undergoing an extreme transformation. Yi Chun. Above the 9 heavens, the Thunder Dragon Master saw the opportunity and attacked at the same time. The god-slaying spear was the strongest divine art that could instantly kill a heaven immortal. How could Yi Chun resist it? The storm was right in front of him, and space suddenly froze. Life and death in an instant. 100 years in an instant. Rumble. There was a shocking explosion. Behind Yi Chun, the darkness pool merged with the Nether God power and instantly transformed into Dark Deity Nether King. Clang! The black-robed swordsman's invisible killing blow stabbed right into Dark King Andy's chest. Tisk, TSK, TSK. As the blade penetrated deeper and deeper into Dark King's body, the black-robed swordsman's expression became more and more terrified. This is the source of the injury on the Longzi sword's arm. He finally understood that the Longzi sword was telling the truth and hadn't lied to him. Seeing the divine weapon being forcefully absorbed into Dark Deity Nether King's body, the black-robed swordsman revealed a look of despair. At the same time, above the 9 heavens, the strongest god-slaying strike descended. In a shocking explosion, the ancient celestial emperor revealed himself. Roar! Instantly, the 9 dragons roared, and the sun and moon reversed. Insolence! With a roar, the ancient celestial emperor activated the 8 heavenly dragons' music. 8 consecutive dragon roars exploded, destroying the void. Boom, boom, boom. The god-slaying spear was unstoppable. The dragon roars were broken one by one, and the spear light rushed straight for Celestial Emperor's body. Roar! The last dragon roar couldn't be resisted by the god-slaying spear, and it was on the verge of collapse. Ha ha! Yi Chun, no matter what you become, I'll destroy you. The Thunder Dragon Master roared and laughed maniacally, summoning even more power to kill Yi Chun. Is that so? Suddenly, the eye of heavenly Tao appeared in the heart of Yi Chun's brows. BZZT, BZZT, BZZT. The light of heavenly Tao instantly covered the god-slaying spear's light. Instantly, all the information of the entire god-slaying spear was poured into the ancient god space. BZZT, BZZT, BZZT. In an instant, in the ancient god space, endless data evolved wildly. Rows and rows intersected, appearing in the space. 10,000 years in one eye, 10,000 years in one thought. The ancient celestial emperor seized this opportunity and saw the only weakness of the god-slaying spear. Netherworld Nirvana Finger. 3 eyes locked on to the weakness, and the Netherworld Nirvana Finger destroyed everything in heaven and earth. The extremely condensed light wave of energy hit the weakness of the god-slaying spear, and there was a shocking explosion. With a dazzling light, the god-slaying spear shattered instantly. Boom! The entire space shook endlessly, and the experts felt that they couldn't control their bodies. It was as if they were drifting with the waves, turning into duckweed in this violent space. They lost control of their own fates. Chapter 2249. The god-slaying spear's grand spear form was destroyed by Yi Chen's finger, striking its vital point. Kacha, kacha, kacha. In the blink of an eye, the spear's shape shattered, and the god-slaying power scattered wildly in all directions. The experts floating in the air instantly fell into a state of death. What is this? No. Cries of pain rang out incessantly. Many of those whose foundations were not strong enough succumbed to the impact of the god-slaying spear's energy. Thunder Dragon Lord, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? When the god-slaying spear exploded, Yi Chen spread his wings and soared into the sky. Nether King Dragon, capturing Claw. The underworld divine power fused with the divine fist created by the creation of the 33 days, turning into the strongest control ability, and instantly grabbed the Thunder Dragon Lord. Dream on. The Thunder Dragon Lord was a pure, young, heavenly soldier. It was impossible for him to submit to a mortal. He turned into the dragon restraining spear and counterattacked. So. Countless spear gleams flew toward Yi Chen like raindrops. This was the Thunder Dragon Lord's final rage. The universe's powerhouses, who were still in danger from the god-slaying spear, were now once again in danger of the Thunder Dragon Lord's wrath. There was no way they could resist. There were also the most tragic ones who encountered such a disaster as soon as they came out of the demon transcending formation that Yi Chen had designed. Boom, boom, boom. Under the intense bombardment, those who did not have sufficient foundations exploded and died one after another. Blood rained down from the sky. Many powerhouses were shocked. They did not expect Yi Chen to find such a treasure this time. A super powerful heavenly weapon that had cultivated spirituality. Not only did these people not have the strength to subdue the heavenly soldiers, but they were also destroyed by the heavenly soldiers at the same time. It was truly a tragic sight to behold. Yi Chen flew across the sky and was still fighting with the dragon-taming spear. Silver Dragon Spear, Universal Strike. The countless raindrops of spear gleams in the sky converged into a super penetrative attack again. Naturally, the target was Yi Chen. Lightning Dragon Lord, you can't escape from this Emperor's grasp. Panga's Divine Might, Cosmos Furnace. Seeing that the Thunder Dragon Lord was still going berserk, Yi Chen no longer held back. The Heaven-Earth Furnace appeared again. Boom! A majestic divine power swept through the sky, turning into a giant furnace that covered the heavens and earth. So. At the same time, a powerful suction force erupted from the furnace. All the divine weapons in the surrounding space trembled at the same time. Many of them were unable to resist the suction force of the Cosmos Furnace, and all drifted towards it. What? My divine weapon? Impossible. Why would my kidney disease drift toward the furnace? You can't leave. Many experts in the universe released their own power, wanting to stop their divine weapons from drifting towards the smelting furnace. But only a few heavenly immortal experts were able to stop their divine weapons from drifting towards the smelting furnace. As for those experts under the heavens, they couldn't stop it at all. They could only watch as their divine weapons drifted into the smelting furnace. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Chi, chi, chi. Within the furnace, many divine weapons melted into molten iron, becoming pure divine weapon power. Ha. Yi Chen, with this level of power, you can control ordinary divine weapons. However, I'm a divine weapon. You can't control my path through the furnace. Thunder Dragon Lord, only by submitting to this Emperor will you truly have the chance to stand out. The universe is vast, and only this Emperor can help you surpass your limits and achieve supreme vision. Easy for you to say, calling yourself the Celestial Arch. If you really have the ability, then let me see. All right. Yi Chen knew that the Thunder Dragon Lord would not surrender so easily. Since that was the case, he would show his strength and use it to speak. 108 heavenly Tao imprints of heavenly spirits and earthly fiends. With a loud bang, the heavenly Tao erupted from within the cosmic furnace. It was the manifestation of the 108 heavenly Tao imprints. These were the most basic heavenly Tao imprints. Now that Yi Chun had activated the two-star ancient god ultimate profundity, these imprints in the furnace could be combined at will, evolving into various heavenly Tao imprints. Moreover, the speed of this combination was many times faster than when he used his own energy. Hiss, hiss, hiss. All the imprints floated above the furnace. Following that, Yi Chen's divine consciousness moved, and the divine weapon power that the cosmic furnace had absorbed was infused into the imprints. Following that, the 108 basic imprints rapidly evolved. In less than a moment, a 7th-level heavenly Tao imprint appeared. That's a 7th-level imprint. Someone recognized that Yi Chun had evolved a 7th-level heavenly Tao. However, even more powerhouses revealed disdainful expressions. Those who could enter this space were all powerhouses who had achieved 8th-level imprints. So what if it was a 7th-level imprint? However, they did not know that Yi Chun had directly jumped from the 6th-level law realm to the 9th level. Otherwise, they would definitely be shocked. However, Lord Thunder Dragon could tell at a glance that although it was only a 7th-level imprint, it was not an ordinary 7th-level heavenly Tao. Yi Chun had created this 7th-level imprint on his own through the 108 basic imprints. This 7th-level imprint was even more powerful than the 8th-level imprints controlled by ordinary powerhouses. Hiss, hiss, hiss. As the 7th-level imprint bloomed, some of the extraordinarily talented powerhouses quickly realized that the imprint before them was created by Yi Chun himself. It was not any 7th-level imprint that they had learned before. Ha! Yi Chun, you're extraordinary indeed. You've obtained the 108 basic imprints left behind by the Buddha Emperor and even mastered all the basic imprints, creating a new type of imprint on your own. Are you willing to follow me now? Not enough, not enough. This is nothing. As he spoke, Lord Thunder Dragon roared angrily. The dragon clamp spear emitted a powerful electric light, triggering the heavenly Tao's power. In an instant, it struck the 7th-level imprint that Yi Chun had created. With a shocking rumble, the 7th-level imprint dissipated in the air. Haha, did you see that? The heavenly Tao that I control is even higher than yours. I'm using the 8th-level immeasurable thunderbolt fragment. Is that so? You don't think that the 7th-level imprint is the limit, do you? Everyone's eyes focused on Yi Chun. Following that, Yi Chun activated all the basic imprints and turned them into the shape of a dragon. It constantly rolled, jumped, and combined into various strange patterns. These patterns were the modules that Yi Chun was creating. Then, through the modules, he created the most exquisite heavenly Tao imprint. Godly Disc, activate. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Above Yi Chun's head, the 8 gates godly disc opened. 8 rays of light shone down at the same time. Under this light, the basic imprints were constantly changing forms. Under the illumination of the 8 rays of light, the 8 major modules that Yi Chun had created previously were activated. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The 8 major modules absorbed the power of the godly disc and, according to the judgment law, forged the strongest 8th-level imprint, the 8 inner hidden gates. These modules absorbed the power of the godly disc and fused with their own heavenly Tao attributes, turning into 8 modules that stuck to the 8 gates. Instantly, the 8 gates godly disc shone brightly in its quality sword. It directly evolved into 8th-level heavenly armaments, and its power was not below the dragon clamp spear. Such a magnificent feat instantly shocked everyone present. Whether it was heavenly immortals or peak mystic immortals, at this moment, they all felt as if they had seen a miracle. Chapter 2250. Witnessing such a miraculous scene, the Thunder Dragon Lord, who was also a divine armament, was completely stunned. Perhaps by following Yi Chun, he could really achieve better ascension and even break through the limits of heavenly armaments to become a higher existence. As for the powerhouses of the universe, they were even more surprised. Many people believe that Yi Chun was an extraordinary person, But even more people believed that Yi Chun would bring endless trouble in the future. The primordial universe's Sea Dragon Nation and the primordial universe's heavenly immortal sect had their eyes on Yi Chun, waiting for an opportunity. The Thunder Dragon Lord frowned and looked around. He had already discovered to the universe's powerhouses that even if it was not Yi Chun, other powerhouses would still use any means necessary to obtain his true body. Now, following Yi Chun might really be a better choice. Ha, good. Since that's the case, I'll accept your invitation. However, I'm only cooperating with you, not your slave. Don't worry, I'm not a sinister and ruthless person. I've said that I'll give you a chance to ascend, and I won't go back on my word. Very good, pay attention. The Thunder Dragon Master shouted and summoned the dragon restraining spear again, flying toward Yi Chun. How could the other experts let go of such an opportunity? Many experts rose up and fought for the dragon restraining spear above the 9 heavens. All of you step down. However, with a thunderous roar, the ancient celestial emperor's fury burst forth, and the 8 heavenly dragons' music reverberated for thousands of miles. Countless strong practitioners were lost in the reverberations, unable to get close to Yi Chun. Come! Yi Chun responded by using the star-picking hand in a flash. He locked onto the dragon, taming Spear's position, and put it away. Zzz. With the dragon clamp spear in his hand, the power of heavenly thunder instantly swam around his body. Even without activating the Thunder God Dharma form, Yi Chun could still feel the powerful thunder and lightning energy. This was the powerful thunder attribute that the dragon clamp spear possessed. Roar! There was a dragon's roar, and dragon's thunder shook the heavens. Yi Chun felt that his foundation had improved tremendously with the dragon taming spear in his hand. Yi Chun, hand over the dragon restraining spear. Several heavenly immortal powerhouses attacked together and locked onto Yi Chun. They swore to kill Yi Chun and take the dragon restraining spear. How can a motley crew defy the heavens? Turning around abruptly, Yi Chun's dragon eyes widened and he waved the dragon restraining spear. Immediately, the 9 heavens' divine thunder raced, and the sound of 8 dragons shook the world. A power 10 times stronger than before surged out again. Those who bore the brunt of the attack immediately felt their meridians break and their bones shatter. The cry of pain was heart-wrenching. One of the heavenly immortal powerhouses who was charging at the front did not expect Yi Chun's counterattack to be so powerful this time, and was hit on the spot. Pooh! A mouthful of blood spurted out and fell to the ground. Ha ha! Yi Chun laughed maniacally as his voice shook thousands of miles away. With the spear in his hand, he was like a god descending from the heavens with unstoppable might. When the various combatants saw Yi Chun's might, they could not believe that no one dared to attack a mere true immortal like him. After all, the might that the dragon restraining spear could unleash when used with Yi Chun was simply unbelievable. Even the celestial immortals were sent flying by the dragon restraining spear, let alone the mystic immortals. Kacha! At the same time, the dark Thearcha's absorption of that swordsman's energy reached its end. That swordsman was in 100 times more pain than the Longzi's sword. His body was devoured by the dark Thearch, and he died without a complete corpse. Such a tragic scene made everyone even more afraid to act rashly. If they could not kill Yi Chun in one blow, what awaited them was likely to be the swordsman's fate. The heavenly immortal sect had already lost 2 prodigies at Yi Chun's hands. The primordial universe had lost a great deal of face. When the people of the Wildland universe's Sea Dragon Nation saw this, they lost all confidence in revenge. Their strength was far inferior to the people of the heavenly immortal sect. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Yi Chun waved the dragon restraining spear again. The surrounding area of 1,000 feet was bombarded by lightning. Then, he left in a carefree manner. When Yi Chun had gone far away, the combatants came to their senses and looked at each other. Sigh, I didn't expect this brat to be so arrogant. He's simply too arrogant. This is the first time someone from the chaotic universe is so arrogant. Indeed, if we don't get rid of this brat, there will be endless trouble in the future. The combatants released signals to their respective forces in other directions and reported Yi Chen's situation truthfully. After leaving everyone's line of sight, Yi Chen continued to move forward. This time, he not only sensed the dragon restraining spear, but also other treasures. From what he sensed, it did not seem like a divine weapon, but more like a natural treasure. In such a harsh environment, natural treasures were sometimes more direct than divine weapons. Devouring natural treasures, as long as it was used appropriately, could allow one's foundation to soar in a short period of time and greatly change one's physique. There were 4 sides to God Peak. The side Yi Chen was on was the east side, which was the side where the combatants were relatively weaker. This was because, in the eyes of the major forces of the universe, the east side had the least treasures. They moved toward the west, south, and north respectively. Among them, according to strength, the back side was the strongest, followed by the south side, and then the west side. This time, the treasure that Yi Chen sensed was on the west side. A flower-like fragrance wafted into Yi Chen's nose. This fragrance was very special. It could cause Yi Chen's meridian channels to surge on their own. Waves of powerful energy automatically rushed out. This strange phenomenon made Yi Chen very vigilant, because this was equivalent to exposing his position. After walking for about an hour, Yi Chen had been cautious the entire time. Suddenly, he sensed many powerful auras. From these auras, he could tell that there were many top heavenly immortals among them. It seems that everyone is attracted by the fragrance and then emitting energy on their own. Yi Chen quickly made a judgment. He thought to himself that to be able to attract so many combatants to emit their own auras at the same time, everyone had a natural sense of trust in this fragrance. Perhaps the attraction of the fragrance was so great that they even gave up their self-defense. The more powerful the cultivator, the more this was because they had absolute confidence that they could defeat any opponent and obtain the final victory. How treacherous, ruthless, and sinister. But when the time comes, I'd like to see what you're like. Yi Chen admitted that he was also attracted by this fragrance. His domineering stance was also because of his absolute confidence. As such, the strongest combatants on the west side of God Peak quickly moved toward the source of the fragrance. Suddenly, a melodious song reached Yi Chen's ears. In an instant, Yi Chen felt as if he had entered a fairyland. The feeling was warm, comfortable, and very enjoyable. Less than 100 miles ahead, Yi Chen saw several heavenly immortals walking together. Upon closer inspection, they were from the heavenly immortal sect. Enemies are bound to meet. Turning his head, Yi Chen once again discovered other combatants. These people were all unfamiliar faces, and he could not tell from their clothes what they were. Yi Chen looked 10,000 miles away, and a deep valley appeared in front of him. The fragrance was coming from this deep valley. Chapter 22:51. The closer they got to the deep valley, the more Yi Chen could feel the indescribable fragrance. If even he was so attracted, one could imagine that the heavenly immortals could not resist such temptation. They desperately ran toward the deep valley, wanting to find the source of the fragrance. Such a strange fragrance made Yi Chen realize that no matter what kind of treasure it was an extremely dangerous existence. Yi Chen channeled the heavenly Buddha heart and gradually calmed his mind. This way, at least he would not be endlessly attracted by the fragrance and make a mistake in judgment. Seeing that the combatants had jumped into the deep valley, Yi Chen slowly descended along a hidden cliff. During this process, the crowd did not care about the existence of someone like Yi Chen. They even did not have the mood to care about the messages they had received from their fellow disciples. In other words, as long as Yi Chen did not reveal himself, he did not even need to use any concealment ability. He could just descend on his own. Smells good, smells good. What kind of natural treasure is this? It's so enjoyable. Let me go faster. Let me see my treasure as soon as possible. Many combatants kept shouting. Their minds were completely attracted by something, and they could not control themselves. As they ventured deeper into the valley, Yi Chen could feel that the exotic fragrance had begun to erode his protective divine energy. This was not a good sign. This meant that the source of the exotic fragrance might still be making a move on the combatants. This was a huge trap. Dragon Energy Shield. Yi Chun released his protective dragon chi to block out all the strange fragrance. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The crowd descended frantically. After about a moment, they all reached the bottom of the valley. The environment at the bottom of the valley was very cold and strange. All kinds of liquid-like things kept seeping out of the ground. These things were like honey. Some cultivators even grabbed them and wanted to eat them because the honey was too tempting. Finally, some of them could not help but eat it. They ate at an extremely fast speed. It was obvious that these things were very attractive to them. After eating the honey, their bodies emitted waves of powerful energy. These energy were actually related to the fragrance. Ha ha! Some of the combatants who ate those things laughed sinisterly. Their expressions were very excited and even twisted, like evil spirits who had received some reward from hell. They kept staring at the crowd. That gaze was enough to make everyone sink into it. They were deeply worried, frightened, and unable to explain themselves. Everyone, do not consume these liquids, or you will be consigned to eternal damnation. A person stepped forward and shouted to the crowd. Everyone turned to look. This person was the primordial universe's heavenly immortal sex eldest senior brother. His name was Swimming Dragon Sword. Swimming Dragon Sword, what do you mean by that? Someone asked. Ha! Can't you see that even though these people's auras have become stronger and have even broken through their limits, their minds have completely fallen and become the tools of the mastermind behind the scenes? What? Hearing this, the experts re-examined the people who had eaten the honey. As expected, many experts saw through the secret. Although these people didn't seem to have changed much, the spiritual light in their eyes had completely lost their humanity. At this moment, the beautiful song rang out once again. Everyone's brows furrowed as they carefully responded to it. After all, with these people who had lost their minds as a lesson, no one dared to be careless. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of footsteps shocked the panicking experts. They sensed the changes in their surroundings and found that the footsteps came from among them. They turned their heads and saw that the combatants who had eaten the liquids were currently walking toward the depths of the empty valley. They seemed to be attracted by something and walked forward as if they had lost their minds. Hey, stop! An expert shouted. However, those experts acted as if they didn't hear him and continued walking like puppets. Don't let them go any further. Swimming Dragon Sword struck out with a palm strike. There was a loud bang, and the ground shook, creating a huge ravine in front of these combatants. The power of his palm strike was evident. The ravine blocked the way, but those bewitched combatants had no intention of stopping and continued forward. The experts were shocked, seeing that those cultivators were about to fall. At this moment, strange flowers appeared under their feet. These flowers and vines created a path, and the combatants walked on this path. Seeing this scene, everyone was even more shocked. It seemed like there was another mastermind behind the scenes. Yi Chun had been leaning against a mountain wall, observing everything in front of him. He looked through the mist of the deep valley, looking at the end of the deep valley. What kind of strange monster was tempting the combatants? Yi Chun's eyes narrowed. He saw a pair of bloody eyes in the darkness of the deep valley, staring at him. His heart trembled and his anger rose. He pointed with his sword, and immediately, the netherworld Nirvana force shot out. Whoosh! The Nirvana force condensed the might of the nether god and contained the dragon restrained spear, piercing through the laws and charging into the darkness. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. However, the Nirvana force continued forward. Suddenly, it disappeared without a trace. It's strange indeed. Facing such a situation, Yi Chun knew that he had encountered a powerhouse this time and did not dare to be careless. Those combatants had already walked on the suicide bridge and slowly walked toward the darkness. What are you afraid of? Let's follow them. This time, we want to see what's in the darkness. A savage universe giant clan combatant was not convinced. A pair of bone wings grew on his back and flew over the ravine, following those combatants. Yes, the treasure belongs to whoever finds it first. Charge! With someone taking the lead, the combatants behind no longer hesitated and moved out. Yichin followed behind them, leaving behind formations along the way as backup. The song was still going on, but everyone was using their own heart cultivation method to resist the mental disturbance. Those who could come here were all prodigies, so naturally, they would not be easily bewitched. The combatants who were walking in front suddenly stopped in their tracks. They stood there in a daze, as if waiting for something. Everyone stopped in their tracks and looked around nervously. In such a dark valley, the slightest movement would be magnified without limit, causing them to have a mental breakdown. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, there was a rustling sound in the surrounding space. As everyone tensed up, they saw vines that looked like venomous pythons suddenly appear in the darkness, quickly entangling the combatants who were being controlled. Chapter 2252. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The poisonous python's vines wrapped around those powerhouses. Then, they heard the sound of blood splattering. Those powerhouses' bodies were swept into the sky one after another. Then, they fell into the darkness and disappeared without a trace. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Then there was the sound of bones and muscles breaking. It was very clear where they had gone. Such a terrifying situation made everyone even more nervous. It was obvious that there might be an extremely sinister monster hiding here. With a cold shout, a sword gleam shot into the sky. Following that, the golden light hit the rock wall, illuminating a shocking scene. In front of everyone, a blood-colored flower that was as large as a small mountain was blooming, and the bodies of those powerhouses were in the flower's mouth. The mouth was lined with sharp teeth and dripping with blood. It was the hell's flower, the blood orchid. This is the rumored blood orchid that can make one's cultivation soar and make one immortal. The person who emitted the sword gleam revealed an excited expression as if he did not care about the tragic deaths of those powerhouses at all. Everyone looked over. This person was the Sky Immortal Sex genius, Celestial Sword. Swimming Dragon Sword nodded slightly. When they were in the Sky Immortal Sect, they had heard about the existence of this treasure from their master, the great ancestor of Sky Sword. The so-called blood orchid was the Hell's Flower. It consumed the flesh and blood of powerhouses as food. Therefore, the older the blood orchid, the richer and thicker the pure energy contained in it. If one could obtain the essence of the blood orchid, it would be equivalent to adding thousands or even tens of thousands of years of cultivation. Who would not be tempted? Under the firelight, this blood orchid was hundreds of meters tall. It was an old monster that had lived for tens of thousands of years. Everyone's hearts were filled with desire. What he saw shocked Yi-chun as well. Blood orchid, he wanted to retrieve the memory fragments of the heaven origin space, hoping to obtain memories about the blood orchid. However, the heaven origin space was mysterious and extraordinary. If he wanted to obtain the memories, he had to first enter and undergo all kinds of life and death tests. Otherwise, it would be difficult to obtain what he wanted. Yi-chun's brows furrowed. He knew that it would be very difficult to obtain information from the heaven origin space. However, after hearing Celestial Sword's introduction, such a treasure could already dominate the world. If he let such a treasure slip away from him or be taken away, it would definitely not be Yi-chun's style. The experts recognized the treasure in front of them as the Hell Blood Orchid, and all of them were tempted. However, they had all seen how powerful the Hell Blood Orchid was, and none of them wanted to be cannon fodder. Don't you want to get the Blood Orchid? Why don't you make a move? Celestial Sword asked with a smile. Humph, Celestial Sword, since you are so familiar with the Blood Orchid, why don't you give it a try? That's right. I heard that the primordial universe immortal gate of eternal heaven has the most meticulous control over the treasures in the world. Now is a good opportunity for you. Swimming Dragon Sword, Heavenly Treasure Sword, make your move. All the strong cultivators looked at the Sky Immortal Sect, hoping that they would make a move. Now, Swimming Dragon and Heavenly Treasure were under great pressure. Swimming Dragon Sword gave Celestial Treasure Sword a look, and Celestial Treasure Sword nodded slightly. It turned out that this mockery was part of their plan. They wanted everyone to fear the power of the Blood Orchid, and then Celestial Treasure Sword and the other cultivators would take the Blood Orchid. Among the experts from the Heavenly Immortal School who had come to the valley, there were 3 from Great Ancestor Sky Sword Sect. They were the strongest in the west of the Divine Peaks: Swimming Dragon Sword, Heavenly Treasure Sword, and Greenwood Sword. All 3 of them were peak-level Celestial Immortals. That was especially true of the Roving Dragon Sword, who was a peak-level Celestial Immortal with godly sword arts. Whoosh! The wind blew as Celestial Treasure Sword flew out and went straight for the Blood Orchid. All the strong cultivators looked at the land of the Blood Orchid, wanting to obtain the real power of the Blood Orchid. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Sensing that Celestial Treasure Sword was targeting it, the Blood Orchid let out a strange sound. Then, dozens of poisonous python vines crazily attacked Celestial Treasure Sword. Celestial Treasure Sword's strength was far above those bewitched cultivators. Facing these poisonous python vines, it was not weak at all. Celestial Treasure Sword, Flame Slash. In the air, Celestial Treasure Sword stabilized its body. The power of flames filled the entire sword body, and the grand flame illuminated the whole valley. The huge body of the Blood Orchid was like an ancient beast, constantly baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, crazily trying to devour. Ha 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 slash. Celestial Treasure Sword didn't care about this kind of demonic might. The light of the slash pierced through the sky. With one slash, heaven and earth shook, and the poisonous python vines exploded and burned to ashes. Kill! Celestial Treasure Sword's power rose again. Countless sword lights rushed towards the Blood Orchid. The power of flames surrounded the Blood Orchid, and it immediately became violent. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Countless drops of blood appeared on the petals of the Blood Orchid, and they crazily transformed into countless bloodmen that attacked Celestial Treasure Sword. What? This strange phenomenon caused the Heavenly Treasure Sword to turn pale with fright. These bloody people even reflected a bloody light that could disturb one's mind. The Heavenly Treasure Sword glanced over and instantly entered the environment. This kind of charm was far above the strange fragrance and liquid substances. Celestial Treasure, watch out! Swimming Dragon Sword shouted. Senior brother, this is bad. Celestial Treasure Sword felt that he had lost control of his body. There were blood men all around him, and even a hell blood sea appeared. This kind of array was too shocking. Greenwood, go forward. Yes. Seeing that Celestial Treasure Sword was in danger, Greenwood Sword took action. Greenwood Tree Array. Greenwood Sword waved his long sword. Instantly, countless ancient trees appeared under the ground, growing wildly and surrounding Celestial Treasure Sword, protecting it. Squeak, squeak, squeak. However, how could those bloody figures allow him to rest in peace? They madly attacked, and every attack actually contained a divine ability or secret technique. Clearly, these bloody figures were the illusions of many experts that Xuelon had absorbed over the past thousands and tens of thousands of years. All kinds of secret techniques clashed against each other, and the Greenwood Tree Array shattered. Kill! Greenwood Sword took action and went straight for the Blood Orchid, wanting to draw the Bloodmen back. But he had underestimated the number of kills the Blood Orchid had taken. Ha ha ha! A strange laughter came from the sky, continuously attacking everyone's eardrums. That laughter disturbed their minds and shook their bodies, causing them to fall into a state of pain. Following that, countless blood men attacked again. They crazily rushed out from under the flower petals, surrounding the Greenwood Sword. This Swimming Dragon Sword frowned, his heart trembling. He didn't expect the power of the Blood Orchid to be so strong. It was very likely that it would be difficult to capture it with the power of the Sky Immortal Sect alone. Ha ha ha! Swimming Dragon Sword, your plan has failed. An expert saw through Swimming Dragon Sword's thoughts and said with a smile, "Ha! The Hellblood Orchid is incomparably strong. Since all of you are here, I think we should attack together, or else we will all die here. The ones who are in trouble now are the Sky Immortal Sect. As the eldest senior brother, are you going to run away from your responsibilities?" Ha ha ha! The experts laughed and watched from the sidelines. In such an environment, the experts naturally hoped to weaken the strength of others to preserve themselves. End of this chapter. Chapter 2253. Seeing that Sky Treasure Sword and Greenwood Sword were in danger, the surrounding powerhouses mocked Swimming Dragon Sword. They all hoped that he would make a move so that everyone could see his strength. This way, they could prepare for the follow-up. However, Swimming Dragon Sword was also a shrewd person. Naturally, he knew what everyone was planning. His eyes moved and sword energy shot out, instantly hitting Greenwood Sword and Sky Treasure Sword. When the powerhouses saw this scene, they were all surprised. They did not know what Swimming Dragon Sword meant by attacking his two junior brothers at this time. Hiss, hiss, hiss. However, after the sword energy hit the two, it turned into vigorous power and poured into their meridians. Sky Treasure Sword and Greenwood Sword's strength increased greatly. This strange scene made the powerhouses reevaluate the Divine Sect people. They could transmit power through sword energy. This way, the connection between them became very close, and it was easy to help from afar. After absorbing Swimming Dragon Sword's sword energy, Sky Treasure Sword and Greenwood Sword's sword energy surged, and the power of dragon surrounded them. Their eyes lit up, and they aimed at the Hell Blood Orchid at the same time. Sky Treasure Demon Slaying Sword. Greenwood Sword Realm. Sky Treasure Sword flew to the 9 heavens, and all the sword energy gathered. It was to slay demons and destroy the surging blood people in one strike. Greenwood Sword released the Guardian Sword Realm. Countless Greenwood Sword energy turned into a lush Greenwood Tree Realm, blocking the blood people's abilities and protecting Sky Treasure Sword. This was the result that Swimming Dragon Sword wanted to see. With the power of Greenwood Sword and Sky Treasure Sword, it would end the Blood Orchid's riot. Then, it would find an opportunity to obtain the essence of the Blood Orchid. On the cliff face, Yi-chun saw this and understood even more. However, the Hell Blood Orchid was a priceless treasure. How could the Swimming Dragon Sword predict it so easily? What Yi-chun saw was the powerful foundation of the Hell Blood Orchid. The surging blood figures were just a ruse to trick the Greenwood Sword and Heavenly Artifact Sword into fighting it head-on. Kill! Sky Treasure Sword's eyes revealed a murderous glint. With Sky Treasure in hand, it suddenly descended. Boom, boom, boom. The countless bloody people in front of them were all shattered. They could not resist the might of the Heavenly Treasure Sword at all. Everyone thought that the Heavenly Treasure Sword could completely break the protective matrix of the Blood Orchid in front of them and stimulate the essence of the Blood Orchid. This was the treasure that everyone wanted. The Blood Orchid had absorbed the power of so many experts. As long as one could seize even 1% of the essence, it would be enough to raise one's cultivation by at least 1 realm. This was because these experts knew very well that the Blood Orchid was extremely pure. Absorbing too much of it would not be beneficial. Instead, it would cause them to be unable to digest it. At that time, once the Blood Orchid backfired, their bodies would explode and they would die. Kakik! Shuelon let out a strange laugh. The Heavenly Treasure Sword's anger rose, and it shot out another sword beam. The Grand Immortal Law was so strong that it swept through 3,000 miles, instantly killing 500 bloodmen. Kacha, kacha, kacha! The bloody men disintegrated in the sword chi, unable to withstand the Heavenly Treasure Sword that was strengthened by the Swimming Dragon Sword. So. The sword chi continued to rush toward the center of the Blood Orchid. At this moment, all the experts attacked one after another, wanting to obtain the essence of the Blood Orchid. The only one who did not attack was Yi-chun. Through the Heavenly Spirit's Buddha's eye, he saw clearly that this was all a scheme of the Blood Orchid, leading everyone to rush into its devouring range. The Hell Blood Orchid's true ability had yet to appear. Something's not right. Suddenly, Yi-chun realized that there was still one person who had not moved. It was the Swimming Dragon Sword. This person had just moved, but then stopped. This action made Yi-chun's eyes turn slightly cold. This person might have planned this a long time ago. He had also seen the Blood Orchid's trap. He had sacrificed the Heavenly Treasure Sword to gain everyone's trust and then turned them into sacrifices for the Blood Orchid. Sinister indeed. Yi Chun sneered slightly, but the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind. The swimming dragon sword thought that he would definitely benefit, but he really did not know that Yi Chun was the ultimate controller. Kill. Seize the power of the blood orchid. Charge. All the experts attacked one after another, rushing toward the center of the blood orchid. They thought that they had already broken through the Bloodman protection formation. Before them was the center of the blood orchid. As long as they obtained the essence, their cultivation would soar, and it was very possible for them to break through their limits. Ha ha ha! Seeing that everyone was flying into the center of the blood orchid, the swimming dragon sword finally could not help but laugh out loud. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. Kacha, kacha, kacha! At this moment, the ground around the blood orchid suddenly collapsed, and countless poisonous pythons rushed out from under the blood orchid. This time, it was not vines but real poisonous pythons. These poisonous pythons had cultivated with the blood orchid for tens of thousands of years and had devoured countless souls. Now it was another feast. Such a terrifying situation stunned the charging experts, but they had no choice but to shoot. There was no way back because even if they wanted to turn back, the poisonous pythons would still cut off their retreat. Ha ha ha! The blood orchid's laughter was even colder, making people tremble in fear. Even the swimming dragon sword frowned, and anger rose in his heart. This was not what he had expected. Not only did these poisonous pythons stop the charging experts, but they even blocked the swimming dragon sword. The poisonous pythons in front of them spat out their tongues, and countless poisonous fog surrounded the blood orchid. All they could see was a green haze, and they could not determine the true location of the blood orchid. Kacha, kacha, kacha! However, at this time, in the green haze, countless painful cries sounded. Bones and muscles were broken, and blood was flowing. There was even an endless red fog in the green haze, all caused by blood. Swimming dragon sword, earthquake. The swimming dragon sword was furious and finally made a move. The grand sword chi turned into a swimming dragon, wanting to destroy the green haze in one fell swoop. However, when the sword chi entered it, it did not have any effect at all. This scene made him tremble. Yichin saw everything. The swimming dragon sword's sword chi was directly devoured by the largest poisonous python. The poisonous python in front of him was even larger than the heavenly serpent in Yi Chen's body. It was like a real dragon. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The poisonous python continued to spit out its tongue, interfering with any incoming and outgoing signals. It frantically devoured the flesh and blood in front of it, all of which were the bodies of powerhouses. It really is tragic. In Yi Chen's eyes, the cultivators who rushed in were now surrounded by the blood orchid and the poisonous pythons. The flesh and blood of the powerhouses that the poisonous pythons devoured were transmitted through their bodies into the blood orchid. After some thought, Yi Chun gradually understood that the poisonous pythons and the blood orchid were in a symbiotic relationship. The poisonous pythons searched for food for the blood orchid, while the blood orchid refined itself to provide the poisonous pythons with energy to cultivate and grow. Greenwood sword, heavenly treasure sword. The swimming dragon sword shouted frantically, but the two of them did not respond. Since you failed, give these two divine weapons to me. Yi Chun sneered. Finally, it was time to attack. Chapter 2254. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Countless bloodlines sprayed out as the blood orchid turned into blood people again. Together with the poisonous python, they attacked the powerhouses in the green haze. Under such a fierce attack, most of the powerhouses could not resist at all. One had to know that these attacks were formed by the blood orchid and the poisonous python for tens of thousands of years. Even heaven immortals could not resist it. Whoosh! At this moment, a person flew into the green haze, shocking swimming dragon sword. Under such a terrifying environment, who would dare to rashly enter it? It was simply courting death. However, when swimming dragon sword took a closer look, he saw Yi Chen's figure. It matched the information he received and confirmed his identity. Yi Chen. Swimming dragon sword's face revealed a strong murderous intent. However, In front of him was the green haze that devoured human lives. How could he choose? It's not easy for the Hell-Blood Orchid to deal with so many powerhouses. I don't believe that I have no chance of survival in this hell. After all, he was the first senior brother of the Heaven Immortal sect. He had the courage to search for treasures. Swimming Dragon Sword's eyes turned cold. He flew into the green haze with Swimming Dragon in his hand. There was blood, bones, and green poisonous mist everywhere. In such an environment, many Heaven Immortals, even if they were not directly attacked by the poisonous python, had already been devoured by the poisonous mist and turned into bones. As for those Heaven Immortal stage powerhouses, they were fighting hard. Most of them could not resist. Sky Treasure Sword, Greenwood Sword. Swimming Dragon Sword shouted the names of his two junior brothers, but what floated over was a head. Upon closer look, it was Sky Treasure Sword who led the charge at the front. Sigh. Facing such a tragedy, Swimming Dragon Sword sighed and kept the head. This was an explanation to the sect. Senior brother. At this moment, a voice came. Upon closer look, it turned out to be Greenwood Sword. Under the full protection of the Greenwood Sword realm, Greenwood Sword finally survived. However, his body was bleeding and his skin was torn. He was in great pain. Junior brother Greenwood, meditate immediately. Swimming Dragon Sword took out a medicinal pill and gave it to Greenwood Sword. The latter sat in the air and absorbed the medicinal power. Although he found Greenwood Sword and Sky Treasure Sword, their divine weapons were not there. This made Swimming Dragon Sword frown slightly. These divine weapons were the treasures of the Heaven Immortal sect. Even if the people died, the divine weapons could not be lost. Junior brother Qingmu, where are you and the Heavenly Treasure Sword's divine weapons? Because of the Python's direct attack, we lost the divine weapon. It seems that a person rushed in from the outside world, and the divine weapon was obtained by him. What? The Swimming Dragon Sword looked around coldly and thought of Yichun. Could it be that the outside world is aware of the situation within the barrier? So he took the initiative to attack and seize the two swords? If that's the case, then it's too terrifying. Only now did the Swimming Dragon Sword understand the true meaning of the message from the Heavenly Immortal sect. Yichun was not an ordinary perfected immortal. The aura of the Greenwood Sword. Suddenly, the Swimming Dragon Sword sensed the Greenwood Sword's whereabouts through the divine armament. At a glance, it was Yichun who was flying through the void. Yichun, with a cold shout, the sword Qi chased after Yichun, but could not stop him at all. At that moment, Yichun locked onto the center of the Blood Orchid. What he wanted was to find the best opportunity to obtain the essence of the Blood Orchid through everyone's killing. No one knew how big Yichun's appetite was. Junior brother Qingmu, meditate here. I'm going after Yichun. Yes. The Swimming Dragon Sword flew out. The sword Qi turned into a dragon that carried him toward the depths of the green haze. Yichun stepped on the golden lotus and flew at an extremely fast speed. The Swimming Dragon Sword used all his strength to barely catch up with Yichun's footsteps. This made him very unhappy. As a top heavenly immortal, it was so difficult for him to chase after a human perfected immortal. If others found out, would he not be ashamed? However, now was not the time to care about this. What he needed to do was to get back the Greenwood Sword and the Heavenly Treasure Sword. The value of these two divine armaments was far above the Greenwood Sword and the Heavenly Treasure Sword. Yichun, don't you dare run. The Swimming Dragon Sword. Who could stop me? What a joke. *M in it. The Swimming Dragon Sword was furious. With a swing of his sword, thousands of swords followed him and rushed toward Yichun. Petty tricks. You're showing off before an expert. Yichun's eyes turned cold. He moved his sword fingers slightly, and the Heavenly Emperor's sword flew out. It turned into a shocking white rainbow and shuttled through space. In the blink of an eye, the 10,000 sword Qi from the Swimming Dragon Sword was devoured by the Heavenly Emperor's sword forcefully and disappeared. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, the Swimming Dragon Sword would not have believed that a perfected immortal cultivator's swordsmanship could reach such a high level. Yi Chan could ignore the suppression of the heavenly immortal law and break through 2 levels consecutively to devour the sword chi. If I don't get rid of this guy, he'll become a great threat. The swimming dragon sword had already made up his mind. No matter how miraculous the person before him was, he had to get rid of him here. Swimming dragon sword technique. 3 dragons devouring the sun. Roar. Suddenly, 3 rays of sword chi merged with the swimming dragon sword's ultimate law and turned into 3 dragons. They charged from different directions, determined to kill Yi Chun. Through sensing it this time, Yi Chun understood that these 3 rays of sword chi were far superior to the 10,000 sword chi from before. This was the difference in quality. People often say that immortals and demons cannot coexist. Martial Emperor Mo, play with him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Before the swimming dragon sword could understand what Yi Chun meant, he saw demonic energy surging into the sky. A majestic demon statue appeared before him. Under the demon statue, a young man descended. He had a cold demonic charm and was covered in dark energy. He was like a demon that could devour everything and a ghost that mocked the human world. Stop! The swimming dragon's sword's heart skipped a beat. He directed the 3 rays of dragon chi to attack the opponent before him. Martial Emperor Mo, block. With a roar, the young man before him flashed his arm and instantly turned into a majestic demon wall. The 3 rays of dragon chi attacked the demon wall, but could not damage it at all. The swimming dragon's sword's heart trembled again. Was the person before him real or an illusion? Why did he look so real? How could a human immortal release such a powerful demonic energy? Humph, don't think that I'm easy to deal with. Yi Chun, since that's the case, I'll show you what I'm capable of. After so many shocks, the swimming dragon sword understood that if he still treated Yi Chun as a puny immortal, he would definitely fail this mission. He had to treat Yi Chun as his strongest opponent. To be able to achieve the name Swimming Dragon Sword, he naturally had his own capabilities. Swimming Dragon Sword. Roar! The dragon immortal sword chi returned to his body, and the sword appeared. The dragon chi soared into the sky, instantly shaking everything within 3,000 miles. The 10,000-mile demon wall that the martial Emperor Mo had released collapsed instantly. Ha ha ha! Facing such an opponent, the martial Emperor Mo laughed maniacally. For the first time, he looked serious. You're the opponent that I acknowledge. I'll take the swimming dragon sword in your hand. What? Idiot! I'll make you pay for your arrogance with your life. Chapter 2255. Swimming dragon sword glared at martial Emperor Mo. The divine weapon in his hand roared angrily, constantly releasing a furious aura that could devour life. However, martial Emperor Mo's demonic energy soared. With the support of the spiritual essence, he was like a demon god descending to the world, his might unstoppable. Swimming dragon sword technique. Demon vanquishing. Swimming dragon sword's eyes emitted a furious dragon light. Murderous intent soared into the sky. The dragon roar divine sword fell from the sky, its grand sword might shocking the world. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, the grand sword chi locked on a martial Emperor Mo, and his demonic energy was instantly restrained. Feeling his demonic energy being restrained, martial Emperor Mo's eyes turned cold. He waved his demonic claws and tore the sky apart. It's useless. How dare a puny demon stop me? Since Yi Chun gave up on you, I'll clean up this mess. Swimming dragon sword raised his divine weapon high up. Instantly, the sword chi in the sky turned into a dragon, roaring in all directions. Following that, the grand sword formation covered the sky and surrounded martial Emperor Mo. The demonic energy finger instantly weakened the Emperor Mo's power by 30%. Facing the sword might of a peak heavenly immortal. Even if the Emperor Mo had nothing to fear, it was still difficult to resist. Ha ha ha! Martial Emperor Mo, you're dead. Is that so? Just when everything was settled, the Emperor Mo's brow emitted a blood-red demonic light. The Celestial Soul's 9 accumulations instantly boosted his demonic energy, causing the entire space to fall into a vortex of demonic energy. Martial Emperor Mo's goal was never to defeat Swimming Dragon Sword, but to stop him. Yi Qin's body had already arrived at the center of the Blood Orchid. Here, countless floating corpses appeared. They were the powerhouses killed by the Blood Orchid. The corpses floated above the thick fog. Below, countless poisonous pythons were devouring their power. Once this power entered the Blood Orchid, it would rapidly evolve into nourishment for the Blood Orchid and the poisonous pythons. Roar. Sensing Yi Qin's aura approaching, the ultimate poisonous python in the Blood Orchid roared and appeared. You'll definitely die if you sneak into the Blood Orchid. The poisonous python spoke in human language. It was at the heavenly immortal stage, and its intelligence was very high, not inferior to human cultivators. This emperor is determined to get the essence of the Blood Orchid. Blood Python, surrender or leave, it's your choice. For tens of thousands of years, countless people have entered this place and been absorbed by us. There was no lack of arrogant people, but you are the first to be as arrogant as you. In front of the Blood Python, there are only corpses and bones. Tell me your name, and then die. Remember the person who killed you, Heavenly Emperor Yi Qin. The Crimson Python opened its mouth wide, and countless blood-colored poisonous mist charged at Yi Qin in a frenzy, entangling him. You want to be rude to me with such a poisonous fog? Yi Qin did not care about the poisonous mist at all. His ancient god body was immune to all poisons. Now that his 2-star ancient god body was even stronger, the poisonous mist was like fresh air. Yi Qin walked straight ahead. The Blood Python raised its eyebrows in surprise. You can't even sense my poison mist. Blood Python, you've chosen the worst outcome, which is death. Within the Blood Orchid, who do you think you are? How dare you compare yourself to me? The Blood Python was enraged. Countless venomous pythons emerged from the ground and charged at Yi Qin as if they wanted to kill him. Let me scrape your scales. Yi Qin smirked slightly. With a thought from his divine consciousness, the immortal slaying flying saber's gleam immediately shot out fiercely. After ascending many times, the immortal slaying flying saber already had the power to kill a mystic immortal. These venomous pythons were evolved from the Crimson Python, and their strength was around mystic immortal. They were the best targets for the immortal slaying flying saber. Master, watch me. A strange face appeared on the immortal slaying flying saber's blade. It was the manifestation of the saber's spirit. A strange smile appeared on the face as it locked onto the venomous python array in front of it. Countless saber gleams transformed into the shape of the immortal slaying flying saber and slashed down wildly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The saber gleam slashed down, and saber energy leaped. Countless venomous python scales danced in the air. Without the protection of the scales, the venomous pythons became incomparably fragile. At this moment, the immortal slaying flying saber suddenly slashed down, and countless python heads flew into the sky in an instant. Such a shocking scene made the Crimson Python feel extremely threatened. He did not expect Yi Qin to be so powerful, and he even had a super divine weapon like the immortal slaying flying saber. Such a battle would definitely be disadvantageous for him. Yi Qin, since you're forcing me to do this, I'll let you die in the Blood Orchid. Yi Qin was a great enemy, so the Crimson Python did not hesitate anymore. He directly integrated the power of the Blood Orchid and formed the Blood Orchid Annihilation Formation. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The Blood Orchid constantly spewed out blood-colored petals. These petals covered the entire ground, and the powerhouses who were still struggling in the formation were possessed by these petals. In an instant, their bodies began to rot, and the energy in their bodies frantically gathered toward the center of the Blood Orchid. The Crimson Python laughed wildly. The power of the entire Blood Orchid was under his control. He had relied on the power of the Blood Orchid to grow to where he was now. Roar! The Crimson Python let out a startled roar. Immediately, the true form of the Crimson Python was revealed. It hovered in the sky like a small mountain. Moreover, With its huge body, everyone was like an ant before it, insignificant. In the face of such a huge creature, many powerhouses were still scared out of their wits due to physical and mental exhaustion. They could not even move their bodies. However, Yichen revealed an amused smile. Such a ferocious beast was nothing more than an illusory thing. It was not worthy of the Heavenly Emperor's attention. Dragon Restrained Spear. Now was the time to use the Dragon Restrained Spear that he had just subdued. 9 bolts of Thunder God, Soaring Cloud, Lightning Strike. Holding the Dragon Restrained Spear, Yichen stood high in the sky and looked down at the huge crimson python below. The attack was like a heavenly tribulation descending on the world, its power unstoppable. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Above the Dragon Restrained Spear, endless divine lightning gathered. It was the power of the Thunder God manifestation. Combined with the might of a divine weapon like the Dragon Restrained Spear, the powerful joined forces to kill gods and destroy Buddhas. Kill! Yichen held the spear with both hands and charged toward the crimson python's head. Roar! Sensing such power, the crimson python roared into the sky. It activated the power of the crimson orchid, and its power increased 100 times. It instantly turned into a peak heavenly immortal, vowing to kill Yichen with a single strike. Rumble! The crimson python spat out a red ray from its mouth and collided with Yichen's dragon restrained spear. In the blink of an eye, the sky fell and the earth cracked. It was as if the world had been reborn and the sun and moon could not be seen. The entire sky fell into boundless chaos. Only the destructive rays and lightning were still intertwining, eliminating each other. With such a tremor, the entire battlefield was completely broken. The crimson orchid appeared before everyone again, and they were no longer held hostage by the venomous python. Great! Who's so powerful that he helped us escape? No way, could it be him? The powerhouses turned their heads and looked at the sky. At this moment, Yichen stood alone in the air. His body was surrounded by lightning, and he was intimidated by the thunder god. Below, the crimson python was bleeding all over and in a daze. After being hit by the dragon restrained spear, it was still in a trance. Chapter 2256. Although Yichen's action of fighting the blood python was not to save these people, the result was that he had helped them escape the control of the blood python and Shuelon. Those combatants were now very grateful to Yichen, and their attitudes had changed significantly. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Who said that experts from the Chaos Verse are useless? That's right. This man can fight against the blood python alone. The blood python is an existence that has been blessed by the blood orchid. Such a colossal creature has the power to change the heavens. It's very likely that it has already surpassed the strength of a heaven immortal. This is too ridiculous. This person is so strong. I think he's not far from passing the tribulation and becoming an immortal. Everyone thought that with Yichen's talent, he would definitely be feared by the heavens. Even if Yichen suppressed the timing of his ascension, once he was envied by the heavens, the heavenly tribulation would still descend, and he would forcefully undergo it. That was Yichen's hidden danger. At this moment, a person flew over. Everyone looked over and saw that it was Swimming Dragon Sword. Swimming Dragon Sword, you're here. It seems like you can't fight Yichen. Many of them knew about the grudge between the Sky Immortal sect and Yichen. Now, the Yichen was fighting the blood python alone and had shocked everyone. The might of the Swimming Dragon Sword was not enough to convince them. Scram! Swimming Dragon's sword flew into a rage and shouted coldly at the crowd. Subsequently, a huge wave of demonic energy also converged into Yichen's body. It was the return of the demon martial emperor. Among these combatants, there were also members of the demon clan. When they saw such a massive Pandora demon energy, they were even more surprised by Yichen. They even wondered if Yichen was a hidden powerhouse of the demon clan. Roar! Just when everyone was about to relax, the blood python suddenly roared angrily, stirring up a storm again. Boom! Its huge body hovered in front of the Shuelon again and locked its cold eyes on Yichen. Yichen! He roared furiously, and his aura threatened Yichen. However, it was useless. How dare a defeated opponent speak so boldly? Blood Python, I'll give you one last chance. Submit to me. This is your only chance. Hoo hoo hoo. The Blood Python panted heavily, but he knew deep down that even if he used the power of the Blood Orchid, he might not be Yi Chen's match. Now that everyone was besieging him, the consequences might be even worse if he fell into their hands. Moreover, the might of the dragon restraining spear in Yi Chen's hand was astonishing. Moreover, it was the nemesis of the Blood Python's constitution. Submitting to Yi Chen might be an option. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Suddenly, Yi Chen swung the dragon-taming spear, and a bolt of lightning was infused into the Blood Python's body. Following that, all sorts of information was transmitted into the Blood Python's brain through the power of lightning. Everyone thought that Yi Chen was going to attack the Crimson Python, so they were eyeing it covetously, hoping to reap the benefits. However, the Crimson Python suddenly calmed down and no longer looked at Yi Chen with hostility. This scene puzzled everyone. Yi Chen has unleashed his sorcery to confuse the Blood Python. We can't be fooled by him. Swimming Dragon Sword had just received some information from the shocking thunder. Now that the Blood Python was acting like this, it was obvious that it had reached some kind of agreement with Yi Chen. This was not what Swimming Dragon Sword wanted to see. In fact, it was not what the crowd wanted to see either. Although Yi Chen had saved their lives, they would not stop attacking Yi Chen just because of that. Swimming Dragon Sword? What does that mean? An expert asked. Yi Chen and the Blood Python are coming to an agreement. They might want to kill him. What? When everyone heard this, they instantly exploded. They looked at Yi Chen coldly, their killing intent awe-inspiring. This scene was exactly what Swimming Dragon Sword wanted to see. He turned to look at Yi Chen and said, Yi Chen, Blood Python, stop acting. Hand over the essence of the Blood Orchid immediately, and you might still have a chance to live. Oh, did I hear wrongly? You bunch of trash dare to speak to me like this? If I join forces with the Blood Python, who will have no chance of survival? Yi Chen turned around and glanced at the experts coldly. Suddenly, they felt a strong pressure and revealed a look of horror. However, the essence of the Blood Orchid was right in front of them. Such a treasure might not be found even if they searched for 10,000 years. This was their last chance. Everyone, let's attack together and kill Yi Chen. Then, we'll obtain the essence of the Blood Orchid. We'll share the essence of the Blood Orchid, and all of us will ascend. What do you think? Swimming Dragon Sword said. Yes, that's right. Many giants of the wild universe began to recommend Swimming Dragon Sword suggestion. After all, the wild universe and Yi Chen also had conflicts. Blood Python, what do you think? Yi Chen turned to look at the Blood Python and asked. I think, kill without mercy. The Blood Python revealed a sinister smile. A blood-colored mist rose from its body and spread out wildly. Ha ha, very good. Yi Chen's eyes widened, revealing a murderous smile. With the Blood Python, this scene was very strange. When everyone heard this, they revealed angry expressions. They thought that Yi Chen had overestimated himself. In that case, everyone would kill Yi Chen together, destroy the Blood Python, divide the essence of the Blood Orchid, and ascend to the heavenly realm. Everyone understood this idea. They looked at each other and attacked Yi Chen one after another. Watching the experts attack, Yi Chen sat cross-legged in the air, not panicking at all. Blood Python, since you've surrendered, let me see what you're capable of. No problem. The Blood Python shook its head. It was because it was stunned by Yi Chen's dragon spear that it was still a little uncomfortable. However, the Blood Python had absorbed the power of the Blood Orchid for many years, so its physical fitness was different from ordinary magical beasts. It could be said to be invincible. Roar! The Blood Python roared, and the Blood Orchid released a strange fragrance. The boundless fragrance barrier once again disturbed the minds of the experts, causing many of them to stop in their tracks, especially those from the giant clan. After they absorbed the strange fragrance, they fell into an illusion. It was as if they saw an infinitely charming giant woman rushing toward them. The impulse in their hearts could not be suppressed, and they all stopped attacking. You bunch of idiots. The Swimming Dragon Sword roared. But the current situation did not allow him to attack the giant clan anymore. He could only lead the other experts to attack. However, on the way to attack Yi Chun, they first had to face the blood python. Haha! Since it had surrendered to Yi Chun, the blood python had to make a contribution and show its value. Blood orchid. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The power of the blood orchid surged wildly and poured into the blood python's body. However, new heads kept growing on the blood python's body. The three-headed blood python transformed, which was its foundation of 3 times. Rumble. The giant tail was in turmoil like a landslide. Countless experts were shaken away by this aura, unable to approach. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At the same time, the 3 heads shot out blood-colored rays, madly sweeping through the experts. Those who could not react in time were directly decapitated. Cries of pain continued, and the situation was reversed. The experts were in chaos, and the swimming dragon sword could not control the situation. He looked at Yi Chun with awe. A human immortal could be so powerful. Chapter 22:57. Yi Chun flew up and stood on the middle head of the blood python. He looked down at the powerhouses below like a god looking at ignorant mortals. His majestic aura shocked the world. Roar! The blood python's breath swept across the surrounding land. More powerhouses fell into it and instantly lost consciousness. They were all swallowed by the blood python. The power of the blood orchid behind him surged like an endless supply of internal energy. It made the powerhouses feel the greatest despair. Let me add something for you. At this moment, Yi Chun did not hesitate anymore. He directly initiated the heavenly tribulation. He was a peak true immortal. Today, he must break through himself and reach new heights. Power of the blood orchid. Yi Chun activated the darkness pool, and the sky snake black tortoise appeared. The blood orchid madly absorbed the energy, causing the 9 heavens to shake and the universe to be shocked. In the sky, several heavenly path dharma descended. It was the heavenly tribulation. What is that? Is it the heavenly tribulation? Seeing the heavenly realm dharma above the 9 heavens, the powerhouses fell into a deeper shock and panic. The heavenly realm dharma was a power that would only appear when the heavenly realm summoned heavenly immortals. Now, Yi Chun was only a true immortal. During the heavenly tribulation, a heavenly realm dharma had appeared. It could be seen that in the eyes of the heavenly path, Yi Chun still had the qualifications to be a heavenly immortal. This is unbelievable. Swimming dragons, sword-like eyebrows furrowed tightly. Even a peak heavenly immortal like him was shocked by Yi Chun's talent. He thought that even if he himself ascended, it would not be possible for such a grand heavenly realm dharma to appear. The 3 dharmas suddenly descended and faced Yi Chun. However, due to the restrictions of the environment, this was not only a test for Yi Chun, but also a calamity for the powerhouses. The powerhouses were in a panic. They gathered around Swimming Dragon Sword, hoping that he could think of a solution. Swimming Dragon Sword, your cultivation base is the highest here. What should we do now? A powerhouse asked. Swimming Dragon Sword looked at the domineering Yi Chun's real body on the 3-headed blood python and shook his head slightly. This person is unprecedented. He can trigger a heavenly tribulation when he's only at the true immortal stage. We can only wait for the right time. What we need to do now is not to kill Yi Chun, but to resist the heavenly tribulation. Swimming Dragon Sword, are you saying that we have to help Yi Chun resist the heavenly tribulation? There's no other way. Dealing with Yi Chun now is equivalent to destroying our own lives. We'll use Yi Chun as an excuse to fight against the heavenly tribulation and then look for an opportunity to escape together. All right, we'll listen to you. In such an environment, the powerhouses had no backbone and could only listen to the arrangements of the stronger powerhouses. At that moment, the 3 venerable ones in the sky moved at the same time. Their target was Yi Chun. Haha, good timing. However, Yi Chun was not afraid of absorbing the blood orchid and controlling the 3-headed blood python. In this battle, He wanted to show everyone who was truly the strongest. Whoosh! With a thunderous roar and 10,000 specks of starlight, the dragon restraining spear appeared in his hand. The thunder dragon roared, and the clouds moved for thousands of miles. Kill! Yi Chun held the dragon restraining spear and pointed it at the sky. Immediately, lightning filled the sky and turned into a lightning dragon that charged toward the three Dharma forms. Boom! One of the Dharma idols slammed its hand down, shattering the lightning dragon's power into nothingness. Such a scene made everyone have mixed feelings. They did not know whether it was good or bad. Naturally, they hoped that Yi Chun would die under the heavenly tribulation. However, if Yi Chun was defeated, these so-called powerhouses would have to fight against the remaining power of the heavenly Tao. No one knew if they could escape unscathed. After all, Yi Chun had not triggered a simple heavenly tribulation. It was a heavenly tribulation that only the most powerful heaven immortals could trigger. These three Dharma idols were the symbols of the venerable ones in the heavenly realm. At the same time, they contained extremely powerful heavenly Tao energy. Ordinary powerhouses could not fight against them at all. Sigh, is this kid really going to die? Seeing that Yi Chun's lightning dragon's power was instantly broken, some powerhouses thought that Yi Chun would not be able to fight against such a heavenly tribulation and would definitely die. Don't worry. This is just the beginning. This person is so abnormal. I wonder what he will bring to us. That's right. This kid's talent is peerless. This is also the first time I've seen such a shocking heavenly tribulation. Let's see how he breaks it. When he breaks it and saves us from danger, we'll use it to kill him when it's exhausted. Isn't that perfect? Good idea, good idea. The powerhouses all agreed that this was the way to reap the benefits from the third party. Riding on the three-headed blood python, Yi Chun suddenly soared into the sky. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The giant python circled around, and its three heads madly shot out red rays, burning the giant palm in front of it. Yi Chun held the dragon taming spear and attacked again. The power of the heavenly realm. Let me see how the power of the heavenly realm can fight against the master of the heavenly realm. As the incarnation of heaven and earth, why would Yi Chun care about this so-called heavenly tribulation? This time, he wanted to experience for himself how powerful the heavenly realm was. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The blood python swung its tail and wildly swept out three sharp rays. It was the power of the blood orchid and the might of the three heads. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, the three Dharma idols shook at the same time. An energy shockwave appeared in front of Yi Chun. It was because these three Dharma idols had a protective formation. The blood python's three attacks were all blocked by this formation. Very good. Yi Chun flew up and separated from the blood python. He waved the dragon taming spear, and the 9 thunder god idols appeared. Dragon taming spear, universe collapsing strike. Instantly, white lightning swept wildly. Yi Chun waved the divine spear, and the white lightning turned into the form of a white dragon, rushing toward the most powerful Dharma idols in the middle. How dare you? The Dharma idols in the middle opened their eyes and grabbed. Instantly, Yi Chun felt the entire world pressing down on him. Even a peak heaven immortal would not be able to resist such a terrifying power. The powerhouses below shook their heads. This was Yi Chun's fatal blow. It's over. We have to prepare to deal with the remaining power of the heavenly tribulation. This kid must die. That's right. Such a powerful palm print can kill a heaven immortal, let alone a true immortal. The powerhouses were ready to fight against the remaining power of the heavenly tribulation. However, Swimming Dragon Sword smiled and said, "You all underestimate this person. I fought with him. His true strength is not limited to this." Oh, the powerhouses were puzzled. A power that could kill a heaven immortal could not kill a true immortal? No one would believe such an absurd conclusion. However, it was Swimming Dragon Sword who said this. They had to consider it seriously. At this time, above the sky, the huge palm print fell and suppressed Yi Chun. With a roar, the ancient god idols appeared behind Yi Chun. At the same time, After absorbing the blood orchid, Yi Qin's ancient god idols took on the form of the six-armed Azura. Kill! With a roar, the six-armed Azura punched out limitlessly. The most furious emotions turned into fist rays that bombarded the heavenly tribulation. It was unprecedented. Chapter 2258. Seeing such a magnificent six-armed Azura form, everyone was shocked. They could not imagine that this was a human cultivator. This was a heavenly god. This is a heavenly god. It really is a heavenly god. Some could not resist the might of the six-armed Azura ancient god and knelt on the ground, praying. More powerhouses followed suit. This was the first time in their lives they had seen such shock. The prayers of these powerhouses were transformed into heavenly fortune and blessed Yi Qin. This way, the might of the ancient god was even more powerful. Boom, boom, boom. Six arms bombarded. Endless fist rays finally shattered the palm print and countered the first Dharma power. Kill! The three Dharma powers were enraged. Ever since they descended to the human world, they had not met a true immortal who could fight against them. This was completely impossible. This time, they would not fail and defend the dignity of the heavenly realm. However, they did not know that the one before them was the master of the heavenly realm. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The three Dharma powers suddenly shone with divine light. Following that, the divine light merged and the power of the three Dharma powers also merged. Three-phase origin destruction. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The entire space was filled with destruction laws. These laws were the peak of heavenly immortal. This time, the three Dharma powers joined forces to completely destroy Yi Qin. Ha ha! You're not the only one with three Dharma powers. I also have three Dharma powers. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Six arms converged, and the three Dharma powers came from the same source. Yi Qin mobilized the ancient god power, nether divine power, and demonic martial power. With the tranquil spear, he made the strongest counterattack. Ancient dragon's wrath, 9 heavenly wrath. Roar! Instantly, Yi Qin's 9 dragons' chi exploded and surrounded the tranquil spear. At the same time, the Thunder Dragon Lord merged the 9 Thunder God powers and created the strongest lightning attack. At this moment, Yi Qin was the judge. The Heavenly Emperor's primordial spirit trembled and triggered the Heavenly Origin Space's memory to recover. A memory fragment rushed into Yi Qin's mind. Heavenly Emperor's dragon power. Lightning struck Yi Qin's mind, and he was enlightened. At the same time, facing such a counterattack, the 3 Dharma powers split into 9 clones. It was the strongest Dharma powers in the heavenly immortal tribulation. The appearance of the 9 paths of heaven Dharma forms instantly shocked everyone within a 10,000-mile radius. All the experts, including the swimming dragon sword, were shocked and their legs went weak. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. 3 of the 9 Dharma forms in the heavenly realm had evolved into 9 phases returning to origin, increasing its power by 27 times. This was equivalent to 27 heavenly immortal level heavenly tribulations coming together and targeting Yi Qin alone. Such a scene was still inexplicable and indescribable. As for Yi Qin, he knew that it was a moment of life and death. He could not hesitate at all. He used the heaven and earth dragon manipulation technique that had just entered his mind. It was the Heavenly Emperor's primordial spirit that shared the same origin as Yi Qin. As soon as it entered his mind, he understood it instantly. 9 dragons break. With the support of the dragon control art, the 9 dragons' dragon chi's power increased by 81 times. 9 bolts of heavenly punishment evolved into 81 bolts of heavenly punishment, changing fate. Kill! The dragon restraining spear was tossed out, carrying the wrath of the celestial emperor as it soared into the 9 heavens. Boom! The 9 phases returned to origin against the 81 heavenly punishment dragon thunder. Instantly, the chaos was boundless. The sun and moon sank, the universe was destroyed, and the 9 continents were destroyed. The deafening rumble swept through the area. Many of the strong cultivators fell into it and fainted. Swimming dragon sword. Swimming Dragon Sword saw that the strong cultivators were about to die under this catastrophe. He released the Swimming Dragon Sword and activated the Heavenly Immortal Gate's most powerful heart technique to suppress the quaking force. However, even with his strong foundation, he could not resist it. He spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the Swimming Dragon Sword and Don't Cry were super powerful divine weapons. Relying on their strong will and the strong cultivators to forcefully channel energy into the Swimming Dragon Sword to save their lives, the storm gradually stopped. After the storm, light reappeared. In the center of the light, the Heavenly Emperor stood alone. He's too powerful. Heavenly Emperor Yi Chun. Is he really the reincarnation of the Heavenly Emperor? Welcome back, Heavenly Emperor. Many strong cultivators still did not care about their dignity. Even the wild giant tribe knelt on the ground, not daring to raise their heads. Seeing the strong cultivators bowing their heads and worshipping Yi Chun, the Swimming Dragon Sword felt great pressure. Yi Chun had broken through his limits and reached the mystic immortal stage. Countless mystic immortal laws surrounded Yi Chun. One should know that these mystic immortal laws were completely different from ordinary mystic immortal laws because they were obtained through heavenly immortal level heavenly tribulation. In other words, Yi Chun's laws were completely comparable to heavenly immortals. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. On Yi Chun's body, the light of laws illuminated the earth. The moment Swimming Dragon Sword sensed it, he understood that Yi Chun's laws were actually higher than his. This Swimming Dragon Sword understood at this moment that he still had no advantage over Yi Chun. In terms of foundation, the height of laws, and talent, he was inferior in all aspects. Swimming Dragon Sword. Seeing the strong cultivators bowing their heads, but Swimming Dragon Sword did not bow. Yi Chun was furious. With a roar, Swimming Dragon Sword felt his body tremble and his legs went limp again. How is it? However, the dignity of the Heavenly Immortal Sect still made him want to resist Yi Chun, but this was the most extravagant hope. Roar! The blood python roared angrily. Yi Chun rode the blood python and descended. A powerful pressure swept across the area. Swimming Dragon Sword felt his body go numb, and he almost collapsed. At this moment, the Swimming Dragon Sword that was shaking in all directions in the sky started to tremble, and he could not control it. You! Swimming Dragon Sword knew very well that Yi Chun still made a move. However, when he wanted to control the Swimming Dragon Sword, it was already too late. The Swimming Dragon Sword had fallen into Yi Chun's hands. You are not worthy of using such a divine weapon. Be *starred. Return it to me. Swimming Dragon Sword was furious. He pointed his sword at the sky, and instantly, thousands of swords shot out and locked onto Yi Chun. Ha ha ha! Yi Chun laughed coldly and pointed the Dragon Quell spear. Thousands of stars appeared, and the dragon lightning broke the thousands of swords. Boom, boom, boom. The thousands of swords couldn't get close to Yi Chun at all and exploded in the sky. At the same time, Swimming Dragon Sword was shaken by the Dragon Quell spear. He spat out blood and fell to the ground. Such divine might shocked the strong cultivators. Even Swimming Dragon Sword couldn't withstand a single attack from Yi Chun. What could they do? Swimming Dragon Sword knelt on one knee. All the meridians in his body were flowing in reverse. In front of Yi Chun, who had broken through, the arrogant Swimming Dragon Sword could only do this. All hail the Heavenly Dharch! All hail the Heavenly Dharch! The strong cultivators cheered, and Yi Chun's luck was like the sun in the sky. Swimming Dragon Sword is just a waste in your hands. In my hands, it's a divine weapon. Spiritual light flashed between Yi Chun's brows, and the might of an ancient god appeared again. Yi Chun threw Swimming Dragon Sword into the heavenly furnace and absorbed the power of the blood orchid and the remaining might of the heavenly Tao. A supreme-grade immortal artifact finally broke through its limits and became a divine weapon. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Swimming Dragon Sword was reforged and obtained the heavenly Thearcha's blood. It recognized Yi Chun as its master. Sword energy rushed in all directions and the strong cultivators bowed their heads. Swimming dragons split the sun and moon, unparalleled in heaven and earth. Chapter 22:59. The swimming dragon sword was taken away. The swimming dragon powerhouse fell into despair. He was no longer on the same level as Yi Chun. If he wanted to fight again, he would be courting death. Do you still want to fight? Yi Chun looked at the powerhouses who were not convinced and shouted coldly. Those people looked at each other. Although they were all universe powerhouses, they had completely lost their confidence in front of Yi Chun. No matter how powerful their universe was, they knew that the person before them was an absolute genius. He had surpassed the limits of the universe's strength, resources, and even the heavenly Tao. We won't fight anymore. Finally, a powerhouse could not help but shout. Ha ha ha! Yi Chun laughed and then opened his hand. In the blink of an eye, the boundless hell blood orchid and the three-headed blood python were all sucked into the ancient god space. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Yi Chun forcefully opened the space passage and jumped in. In the end, a group of universe powerhouses was left standing in place, completely stunned. After leaving Hell Valley, Yi Chun entered the southern god peak. The general strength of the cultivators here had increased again. Heavenly immortals were the basic level, and there were even mid-level and above heavenly immortals. Such heavenly immortals could still comprehend elementary heavenly Tao, and their strength was on a completely different level from ordinary heavenly immortals. For example, the swimming dragon sword had comprehended heavenly sword Tao and was a considerable obstacle for Yi Chun. However, before Yi Chun, who had absorbed the power of the blood orchid, it could not withstand a single blow. Stepping into the southern god peak, Yi Chun could feel many powerful forces hidden in the peak. With his current super sensing ability and absorption ability, he could instantly absorb the power within a boulder by placing his hand on it. Moreover, he gradually discovered a strange phenomenon here. These rocks still did not contain simple immortal energy and Buddhist energy. Instead, there was demonic energy and even underworld energy and dark energy. This shocked Yi Chun greatly. It was obvious that in the eyes of the ninth heaven Buddha Emperor, these energies could be condensed into one body. In that case, the Buddha Emperor cultivated the universe Tao. Yi Chun relied on the power of the ancient god and cultivated the incomparably complex power of the universe. These energies might repel each other, but under Yi Chun's adjustments, they coexisted in the ancient god's body. In such an environment, Yi Chun was like a fish in water. Haha, ninth heaven Buddha Emperor, I really want to see your true body. I want to know what kind of relationship you and I had back then. Due to the limitations of his memories, Yi Chun only knew that the Buddha Emperor and the Heavenly Emperor were friends. However, he could not figure out exactly how close they were or if they were just brothers on the surface. What he had to do now was to seek the most opportunities and resources. Only then could he recover more of his memories and take another step toward recovering his true body. As he encountered more powerful opponents, Yi Chun understood that the heavenly realm might not be the pinnacle of the universe. Otherwise, he would not have fallen to the mortal world. For the sake of the people he cherished the most on earth, he had to find the Heavenly Emperor's power as soon as possible. Z. As Yi Chun walked, he absorbed these energies. Whether it was Buddhist energy or dark energy, Yi Chun absorbed them all, regardless of the difference between them. In this way, if he said he was second in terms of efficiency in using the Southern God Peak, no one would dare to say they were first. After absorbing enough energy, Yi Chun used the Heaven-Earth Furnace to refine all of it. Previously, he did not have the Heaven-Earth Furnace and could only use the Ancient God Space. However, the Ancient God Space focused on calculating abilities and was not specialized in refining. The Heaven-Earth Furnace was completely different. It was a top-notch refining artifact and was embedded in the ancient god body. One could imagine how useful it was. Using the Heaven-Earth Furnace, no matter what kind of energy it would all be refined and converted into divine origin. When Yi Chun needed this divine origin, he could completely transform it into its previous form for Yi Chun's use. Yi Chun walked on this god peak for about 3 months. Sure enough, the area of this southern god peak was much larger than the Western God Peak. Finally, he saw the existence of the universe's combatants. Dong, dong, dong. The loud sound was not thunder, but the footsteps of the giants. What Yi Chun saw were the combatants of the wild universe. These combatants were completely different from the ones Yi Chun had seen on the other god peaks. The height and cultivation base of these people were incomparable to the ones he had seen before. Naturally, they had noticed Yi Chun. One of them looked at Yi Chun with a slightly cold gaze, but did not take the initiative to attack Yi Chun. It was clear that the wild giants he had encountered on the eastern and western god peaks had not sent any information to these people. Little brats from the chaotic universe can come to the southern god peak. How surprising. One of the giants said with a cold smile. Ignore him. Let him fend for himself. Yes, we must find the wild spirit stone this time. We must get it. Let's go. The group of wild giants quickly walked forward. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Wild Spirit Stone? Yi Chun's sensing ability was naturally amazing. He heard the most important term, Wild Spirit Stone. He wondered if the combatants who appeared here all had a fixed purpose. This judgment was very important. If that was the case, then these treasures could not be compared to the scattered treasures from before. As for Yi Chun, the dragon restraining spear and the blood orchid were extremely special cases. Yi Chun watched them walk away. He turned invisible and followed their footsteps. These giants were sprinting toward a radiant mountain peak. Their speed was getting faster and faster. At the same time, the surrounding temperature was getting worse. Yi Chun felt as if he had fallen into a furnace. The scorching smell was very strong. Nether divine power. In such a situation, Yi Chun circulated the nether divine power to cover all his meridians. Then, the night demon armor evolved on the surface of his skin, and the dragon scales protected his body. In this way, as long as his meridians were not affected, with the protection of the night demon armor, Yi Chun would not have a problem whether it was a flaming mountain or a furnace. Look, the fire forest peak is just ahead. Let's go. Yes, those giant combatants went crazy and were full of energy. Yi Chun and Vivian nodded. He knew that the Wild Spirit Stone these people were talking about might be here. Wild Spirit Stone, you have some spirituality. I like to see what you look like. Yi Chun continued to turn invisible and even used the Night Demon Armor's imitation function. He only relied on the nether divine power to protect his meridians. However, the surface temperature of his body rose rapidly. In this way, the temperature of Yi Chun's body was the same as the surrounding space. In this way, it was not so easy to sense his existence. Chapter 2260. Such a temperature is exactly what the savage spirit stone likes. My spirit stone can sense it too. One of the giants took out a stone the size of a small mountain. However, in the giant's hand, it was like a small ball, not a hindrance at all. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The spiritual stone emitted a sensing force, constantly guiding energy towards the fire forest peak. Rumbling sounds constantly resounded, and the entire peak began to shake. Even countless boulders came crashing down. But to these giants, these weren't a problem, and they couldn't even hurt them. That's the direction. The leading giant nodded slightly, then directed the crowd to rush in that direction. Yi Chun was now completely red, like a piece of lava in this fire forest peak. He followed the giants forward, but they could not sense Yi Chun's presence at all. This was because the giant's sensing ability was very rough and weak, and with Yi Chun's disguise, there was no need to worry about his safety. Advancing toward Fire Forest Peak, Yi Chun suddenly sensed an aura different from the giants. This aura was boundlessly violent, like a fire demon that devoured flames, releasing its own aura in a frenzy. Yi Chun thought, could this be the power of the savage spirit stone? He followed the crowd forward, and at this moment, above the sky, a crack suddenly appeared. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Lightning crackled, the sky cracked, and powerful energy rushed down. The target was the savage giants. Boom, boom, boom. The energy hit the ground, instantly creating a huge ravine, blocking the giants from moving forward. Then, from those cracks, several people rushed out. These people were dressed in luxurious brocade robes, had delicate features, and extraordinary temperament, but each of them released an extremely cold aura, a huge contrast to the fiery giants in front of them. "Oh no, it's the frost giant!" a savage giant shouted. Hearing this shout, Yichen was puzzled. These people in front of him did not look like people from the giant tribe, but what did the frost giant that the savage giant mentioned mean? "Ha ha, remnants of the savage tribe. Do you still want to rely on the savage spirit stone to turn the tables? Unfortunately, we have arrived. All of you will die." The young man walking in front had a face full of frost, revealing a sinister smile, giving people a feeling of coldness of hell, very terrifying. He gave a strange smile as he looked at the desolate giants, his eyes filled with killing intent. The desolate giants were extremely cautious. It was clear that they were afraid of these people. "Umph, Ice Vulture, this prince will never let you have your way." Prince Yanlai, what can you do?" "In front of this duke, you can only bow your head and pledge allegiance to me. Only then will you have a chance to preserve your life." "Wu Dan, bring them to look for the spirit stones immediately. Don't make any mistakes." "Your Highness." They didn't want to leave their prince. After all, the frost giants were too cunning and ruthless. They had already experienced this before. What they saw in front of them was one of the most treacherous frost giants. How could they be at ease? "You want to give orders for Kong?" "I wouldn't dare." "Go." "Yes." Wu Dan's brows furrowed tightly, and his face was filled with a conflicted expression, but he could only obey the prince's orders and lead everyone to charge towards Fire Forest Peak. Hee, you're really naive. Yinlai, I'll let you die here first. Ha ha ha. If you want this prince's life, let's see what you're capable of. Prince Yinlai shouted loudly, and a huge, mountain-like stick appeared in his hand. He pointed it at Ice Vulture. "Ha ha, very good." Ice Vulture sneered slightly, and then gave the powerhouses around him a look. They nodded one after another, and their figures directly disappeared in the space. Seeing this, Prince Yinlai knew Ice Vulture's plan and instantly activated the flame barrier. He suddenly waved the flame wolf in his hand, and suddenly, within a radius of 1,000 miles, there was a world of flames. No one could easily walk out of this domain. This was the solution that Prince Yinlai had thought of long ago. As long as these people were trapped, everything would be fine when Wu Dan received the help of the savage spirit stones. Therefore, during this period of time, he had to use all his energy to block these frost giants. Yichen watched excitedly from his side. He didn't expect to see a battle of life and death between two tribes here. Due to the power of the domain surrounded by flames, those frost giants who were hiding were indeed revealed here. Prince Yinlai's domain power was indeed powerful. "Ha! If you want to kill this prince's subordinates, you'll have to go through me first. You really have a death wish." Ice Vulture revealed a sinister look. This time, his mission was also to find the savage spirit stones. According to the legend of the Frost Tribe, once the savage giants obtained the savage spirit stones, it would be the end of the Frost Tribe. How could he let such a terrible thing happen? Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. At this moment, frost energy began to condense in Ice Vulture's hand, and finally turned into a long frost spike. This long spike looked like a long sword, but the sharp spikes on it made Yi Chun realize that this weapon was definitely not a sword. Prairie Fire. Prince Yinlai took the initiative and waved the flame wolf. Suddenly, under the 9 heavens, waves of fire surged. The powerful waves of fire formed a prairie fire, crazily attacking Ice Vulture. However, Ice Vulture was not afraid at all, and even revealed a cold smile. Ice Vulture, Mad Crow. With a stern shout within the 9 heavens, the wind and clouds surged and darkness fell. Countless dark ice crows formed a terrifying ice crow storm. No matter what was in front of them, they would devour it. It was like the roar of the devil, like the opening of the gates of hell. At this moment, thousands have perished. Seeing such a scene, Yinlai was shocked. He didn't expect that a mere frost duke, Ice Vulture's strength would be so strong. It could be seen that the strength of the frost giants was far above the savage giants. However, how could he give up? As long as he found the savage spirit stones, everything could be reversed. Ah! Prince Yanlai let out a heart-wrenching roar. He held the flame wolf and madly rushed forward. Heaven wanted to use his own body to resist these ice crows, and he wanted to open a bloody path for Wu Dan and the others. Seeing this, Yichen could not help but sigh for Prince Yanlai. In Yichen's eyes, the battle was already over. He had predicted the course of the battle through the 8 gates divine discs and the ancient god space. Boom, boom, boom. Raging flames exploded, shocking the heavens and earth. But soon after, ice crows filled the sky, freezing everything in an instant. Prince Yanlai's huge body froze like a mountain statue. His face was still filled with anger, but his eyes no longer moved. Chapter 2261. Ha ha. On the battlefield, the flames were extinguished. Only Ice Vulture's cold laughter echoed. Wu Dan, who was charging at the front, sensed the hidden power of the flames below and immediately realized the result. He was in agony. Leader Wu Dan, go! Wu Dan roared and rushed forward with the guidance of the Spirit Stone. Many giants followed behind him. Below, Ice Vulture had defeated Yanlai and was charging toward Fire Forest Peak with everyone. After Ice Vulture and the others left, Yichen appeared. Yanlai is really brave. He glanced at Yanlai. He wanted to take his divine weapon, Fire Wolf, but thinking that he fought to the death for his clan, Yichen gave him this honorable way to die. He took his weapon and went on his way. Yichen flew to catch up with the frost giants and ran toward Fire Forest Peak. On Fire Forest Peak, countless flame trees swayed with the wind. The leaves were all surrounded by flames, constantly releasing heat. Here, ordinary heavenly immortals could not even live for a few hours. The cruel environment created a desperate situation. Lord Ice Vulture, Fire Forest Peak, is very unfriendly to our Frost clan. We may only have 20 hours. I don't need to say more about the importance of this mission. Yanlai is dead, and the enemy is gone. What can Wu Dan and the rest do to me? Therefore, as long as we find Wu Dan and the rest and bring back the Savage Spirit Stone, we will be great heroes of the Frost Giant clan. By then, it will be reasonable to become a general or a marquis. Great, great, great. Hearing this, the Frost powerhouses roared one after another. It was obvious that they valued the glory of battle. Although the environment of Fire Forest Peak was 100 times harsher than before, with the darkness pool combined with the night demon armor and the dragon energy shield, Yichen walked easily without any effort. In front of them, a Frost powerhouse took out an umbrella-shaped magic tool and chanted an incantation. The umbrella turned into a frost canopy and floated above their heads. Then, the canopy turned invisible, but it was enough to resist the power of the flames. I see. Yichen looked at the sky. All kinds of information entered his mind, and various information structures of the frost canopy appeared. Lord Ice Vulture, we've locked on to Wu Dan's location. The spy we planted this time is really good. Ha ha ha. This is the result of consuming 10 flame pills. How could it not be good? The Ice Vulture laughed heartily a few times before leading everyone forward quickly. In the inner circle of Fire Forest Peak, Wu Dan brought everyone towards the place where the Spirit Stone's reaction was the most obvious. The invasion of the flame energy here was even stronger, and one of the powerhouses in the team still couldn't hold on. Are you okay? Wu Dan asked the man. Leader Wu Dan, I'm fine. You can't delay the search for Spirit Stones because of me. Good job. Wu Dan nodded slightly and patted the man's shoulder. Then, it led the group forward. After an hour of searching, they finally arrived at the end of the Fire Forest Peak. Here, they saw an extremely grand valley, and within the valley, streams of spiritual light were constantly flickering and soaring into the sky. Then, countless flames were attracted by the spiritual light and surged toward the source of the spiritual light like a whirlwind. What's going on with these flames? An expert asked. Ha ha ha. Prince Yanlai was right. This direction is the location of the Savage Spirit Stone. The power of the flame you see is attracted by the Savage Spirit Stone and is rushing towards the same direction. They are the food of the savage spirit stone. Food. Yes, other races only know that our savage giant tribe worships the savage spirit stone, but they don't know that the savage spirit stone is actually alive. The one nurtured within it is the greatest hope of our tribe. Whoever obtains the recognition of the savage spirit stone will be the emperor of our savage giant tribe. This is the rules set by our ancestors. That's great. I must obtain the recognition of the savage spirit stone. One of them disregarded his own safety and jumped down. His desire to become the emperor made him forget all dangers. No, at this time, it was too late for Wu Dan to stop him. By the time he made a move, the man had already been swallowed by the spiritual light. Then, the flame energy erupted, and the man's whole body was covered in raging flames. These raging flames were the samadhi true fire. Even the savage giant's natural fire resistance couldn't resist and could only die. Everyone was shocked. In the face of the samadhi true fire, they were so fragile. Sai, how can we succeed if we are so reckless? As you can see, this is the samadhi true fire, the defense mechanism of the savage spirit stone. These red balls can let us temporarily resist the samadhi true fire, one for each person. Yes, everyone swallowed the red balls one after another, only feeling restless. Their muscles continued to grow and evolve, and scarlet scales grew all over their bodies. However, one of them actually didn't eat the red ball, which made Wu Dan very puzzled. What's wrong with you? Leader, I suffered too much from the impact of the flame energy, and now I feel unbearable pain all over my body. If I eat this red ball, my body might explode and I will die. How will you go down? I will stay here and wait for your triumphant return. Once the frost giants come, I can also send a signal. And what I said is right. You have to be careful. Yes. Wu Dan nodded to the expert, then flew down. Half an hour later, the ice vulture landed with everyone. There's a savage giant there. Let me attack. No. Looking at the frost giant's confusion, Ice Vulture smiled and said, "This person is one of us." One of us. Everyone was even more confused. Ice Vulture released a cold breath, and it hit that person, Lord Ice Vulture. That person appeared instantly. Although his body was still huge, he had turned into a frost giant. It was the spy. What's the situation? Lord Ice Vulture, they've all gone down. The situation is like this. The spy explained the situation clearly. Ice Vulture smiled and threw a frost bomb, which exploded with a loud bang. All the energy was replenished on the frost canopy. Now all of you follow me. Yes, everyone followed Ice Vulture into the frost canopy and then jumped down. At that moment, Yichen also arrived. Sensing the powerful flame energy below, Yichun knew that this descent might not be easy. So what if it's the mystical flame? I'll take it. However, nothing could stop Heavenly Emperor Yichun. He suddenly jumped down, and suddenly a strong wind blew. The Samadhi true fire boiled and surrounded Yichun. Oh, Samadhi true fire, interesting.